Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, once again to OPC Season 2. I'm your host, AVRL. With me tonight, Pixie, as we're about to head into the final match of the evening. Flash Wolves taking on Hong Kong Attitude.
I think this is going to be an interesting one because, in a way, Flash Wolves were the last on Hong Kong Attitude's hit list from Season 1, the team that they were unable to take down. But honestly, it's going to be a tougher challenge than ever because Flash Wolves have returned. Not only were they the Season 1 victors, but they've returned looking equally on form. It is going to be on Hong Kong Attitude to close that gap.
And that's the thing, right? Flash Wolves coming back equally on form. Hong Kong Attitude debatably coming back above their form that they left from last season. And that actually means, look, if you want to make that, if you want to cross off Flash Wolves from your list of hit members, well, I mean, now's the time to do that. We're going to get some words now from both the sides before we get in there. So I think the question there was, what is different now since last season? So we've made some, look to make some adjustments to the weaknesses. So I feel like the game is changing as well. We're trying to keep up with the game and make sure that we're adapting and moving forward correctly. So you've added a new member to your team. Have there been any new changes? There have been a lot of changes. So we've actually preparing for today specifically. So that was Holiday Cow from Hong Kong Attitude and Coach Ray from the Flash Wolves side as well. So again, I think the real thing to look at here is Flash Wolves coming back on form, Hong Kong Attitude coming back improved.
Yeah, and I think there are kind of two things at play here, just you know, one for each team. First of all, yeah, there is that notion of Hong Kong Attitude coming back, returning to form, and they really did tear up the standings towards the end of Season 1, but they still kind of need to continue that onward and actually keep pushing, because the competition has also bettered themselves. And I think actually a key proponent of that, there's been kind of two factors. One is the entrance of Ardent, who, look, I'm not going to go ahead and say they're the best team in the tournament. I really don't think that's the case, to be honest, but they clearly are top 3 material. They're pushing the standard, especially for those teams that couldn't quite make top 3 previously, Hong Kong Attitude being one of them. The other side of that that's kind of going to push up the standard here is actually Flash Wolves spent the entirety of Season 1, you know, a huge majority of it really not getting all that challenged at all. Even though Blank did give them a good fight in the finals, they still won those finals. It wasn't until they went to World Cup and actually played against some other teams. And honestly, I do think they had a bit of a rough showing as it was. Personally, I don't feel they played their absolute best, but in any case, they actually gained some experience against teams that are not in the OPC, and that's experience they bring back to the OPC. So honestly, sometimes, even though teams in a tournament can be good, sometimes they actually just never quite expose a weakness of yours, and that means you sometimes don't realize you had it. And I think that's what Ray was speaking to in that interview, is I think they're a little bit more aware of some other weaknesses of theirs that they're going to be fixing up to be pushing their own level even higher in this tournament.
And that's really important because you're a team that's on a huge winning streak. I believe it was, what, 21 matches in a row that Hong Kong Attitude, or rather not Hong Kong Attitude, but Flash Wolves managed to get in OPC Season 1. You need to lose sometimes. You need to be brought down and pegged just to know, look, actually, we can lose, and this is how we're losing.
So
this is how we can actually get better. So, you know, I think Blank definitely had that in the middle of the season for OPC Season 1. Now, I want to talk about Hong Kong Attitude as well, because they're sort of in a similar situation to where Mega Thunder are, just as we're looking over some of the Flash Wolves players that you probably know and love. Bacon Jack is definitely one of the guys to look out for. I just love Bacon in general, so the fact that he Bacon Jack,
the fact that it's like, and there's like Jack there as well. Jack's great. Like,
I mean,
what a good
Bacon's
guy.
good enough, but Bacon plus Jack, hell, I'll take it. But what I really want to go for here is, when you really think about the Hong Kong Attitude side, they're 1 and 2 in standings here. They've already taken a win against Liberland Supreme. Then they lost to Ardent. Then they lost to Mega Thunder. Now they're going up against this Flash Wolves squad, the #1 team for OPC Season 1, still the best team in Taiwan. And Hong Kong Attitude still are a team mostly comprised of Taiwanese members. 2 members, including Mango Jai here, from Hong Kong. The rest are from, or Mui's from Hong Kong as well. The rest are from Taiwan. And now they're staring down the barrel of a potential 1-3. That's where Mega Thunder are at. Mega Thunder 1-3 after losing to Blank.
And we talked a little bit about, the general closeness, I feel, of the skill level of all of these teams relative to one another. And the fact that at the end of it all, someone's got to be in the bottom two. Yeah, if you are that team that is 1-3 after this match, tied in that position with Mega Thunder, it starts to look like maybe it's going to be you. And that's not how you want to start the season. So not only do they want to take off a team on their hit list, they also really want to even up their score to be a 2-2 scoreline. Honestly, no matter how you slice it, Hong Kong Attitude just want this win, or at the very least, want an extremely good showing. They want like a Game 4, Game 5 kind of series here at like the bare minimum. And I do think that they are a team that can do that. Whether they're a team that can do that right now, right this minute in this game is a different story altogether. And indeed, that's the story that's about to play out.
And certainly Holiday Cow, you'll remember him as Jin Cow from last season. He kind of said it as well. Look, Flash Wolves are the team that they didn't manage to beat last season. They beat everyone else, literally everyone else except Flash Wolves. So the final check mark, they actually got a new team to beat this time around. They got to try and beat Ardian as well if they want to complete, I guess, the checklist for season 2.
Hat trick?
I don't know. It does get more difficult for Hong Kong Attitude, and already with a scoreline of 1-2, looking at a potential 1-3 if they don't win tonight, is this is a team that only just barely missed out on playoffs last season. You had to get top 3. They got number 4. You don't want to be number 5 now going up against the top 4 for playoffs.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there's kind of a trade-off here. It's a shorter season. There's only 2 round robins instead of 4. Last season, it meant that by the time Hong Kong Attitude were really improving a lot and getting those big wins against, like, AHQ and Blank, they weren't really able to have that reflected in the standings, unfortunately. So you're right, did miss out on that top 3. This time around, though, shorter season, which means the standings will be a lot more fluid. If you get a huge rack of wins, even after the first couple of losses, you can absolutely soar up through the standings. But it means that the losses you do take will hit you much harder, will affect you a lot more. And if you do take early losses, if they do finish up 1-3 after today, they need to have a really big win streak to soar up through the standings and make it to playoffs.
Yeah, well, the good news for them is they do sort of finish the first round robin in opposite to what a lot of teams are experiencing, which is Hong Kong Attitude start with the harder matches. They had Ardian very early on. Now they got Flash Wolves. Next week, or rather, not next week, but later on in the weekend, they're going to go up against Blank and then eventually AHQ before going on to Machi. So the competition, at least based on standings from last season, does start to go down, standings-wise from there. So if that's anything to go by, Hong Kong Attitude, if they get better throughout the season, which they did last season, now they can start to pick up those wins. But you don't want to start badly, because a bad start like what they had last season means they're not going to make the playoffs again.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think we both really stand by that statement from before of they are already looking better than indeed they finished last season, let alone how they started, which, like you said just then, was a little bit rough. But Lijiang Tower is going to be the pick coming through for Flash Wolves. By the way, I almost kind of feel like, again, we've got like a bit of a Game of Thrones thing here. Like Mango Jai has like his hit list. He has his list that he says before he goes to sleep.
Arya?
Yeah, like Arya Stark. And he's like lying in bed like, Zonda, Bacon Jack, I eat you up. Like just listing off all the people
I was going to say
kill.
teams, but like it's people. Because that's a lot of people.
Individual people on his hit list. And like in so doing, wants to pick apart the team.
7 teams worth of 6 members. Some teams have subs. Mega's got like 8 or 9.
He's got a huge list. Like he's already slashed off a good number. Like he's taken out like Dizzy and like Shylin. He's got like he's had some.
Shylin's on his team. That's awful.
I was thinking of Kant. I said Shylin, but you know what? Maybe he killed Shylin too. I don't know. That guy's
he's putting his own teammates on that as well now.
And by the way, you did also mention it, and just for those who are not quite up to date on this new roster, of course, they did pick up Mui from Talent Esports, a team that unfortunately failed to qualify in the promotion relegation tournament, but yes, himself from Hong Kong. And also have brought on Randy to the starting spot.
So that's interesting because Mui and now White, otherwise known as Trona from Detonator Korea, are members that were eliminated from the season OPC Season 2 qualifier that are now playing in OPC through different teams. So kind of good to see those guys kind of get their way in.
Shook its head on Gardens, like when it panned up to Gardens, it like shook. Like, no, not Gardens. And it goes up to control. Yeah, it's control center. Oh, this is beautiful. Out the gate now, here comes the rollout. And
Whoa, what? Bacon Jack. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Bacon Jack.
I expected Zonda. Actually, we saw Zonda last time.
Bacon Fist.
Doom Jack.
Doom Jack. I don't know, which is scarier, Doom Jack or Bacon Fist? It depends on who Jack is.
Kind of scary to me.
I quite like Bacon Fist.
Still a little bit tasty. It's tasty and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like eating bacon that'll punch it.
Yeah, if it punches you in the jaw, you're not too unhappy about it, but Bacon Fist is going to strike the first blow as he takes out a Ting and then follows it up with Mui. Yeah, it's two pieces of bacon, 2 fists, and 2 kills.
I am a little bit concerned.
You know what? He kills you by raising your cholesterol.
Sounds like how I'm gonna die. The only thing that does concern me a little bit is Bacon Jack not on this Tracer, so you're putting the best Tracer OPC not on Tracer. That does somewhat kind of raise a few red flags for me. I still would prefer Zonda to be on this. Then you would have the Ursa DM combo that Artie can do. Zonda on the McCree. He's not a bad McCree, but I think you want to keep Bacon Jack onto the Tracer. So far, though, it is working out.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we do have to appreciate. It is totally working out. Mui gets to pull the same kind of weight, and this is a very quick Deadeye out of Zonda as well. Only catches Mui, but it only needs to catch Mui, who just had that Meteor Strike available. Means Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to retreat and try and take this fight later.
Certainly, Flash Tools getting a very clean lead. This is classic Flash Tools. We talk about Flash Tools coming back largely on form. This is exactly how they kind of played OPC Season 1. Obviously, minus the Doomfist, but not a lot of mistakes, just very clean gameplay.
That was an interesting Meteor Strike out of Bacon Jack because it was partly to save his own life. Then he decided I might as well use it to zone members of Hong Kong Attitude. It actually ended up overextending for that. I feel like that was a bit of a greedy call out of him. And now Hong Kong Attitude have a big opening. They're already putting the pressure on. Forced Transcendence there. That is big, and Mango Jai has to match it as well. Hong Kong Attitude going to use that to set themselves up for the point. But Bacon Jack has rejoined the fray now, so Flash also kind of weather the storm. They're just trying to reset adequately, and Hong Kong Attitude try to keep up the pressure. They take down a good number, finally losing Zonda here, and it looks like Flash Wolves, again, kind of weathering the storm here.
They are getting a lot of good return kills, so Hong Kong Attitude managed to find Bacon Jack quite early, so I just said not making mistakes, and Bacon Jack decided to do that. Okay, he's on a new hero. I'll forgive him for that at least one time. Flash Wolves, though, Zonda, he gets killed, but he takes down a couple members with them. So this is similar to what we saw from Blank against Mega Thunder, Blank against Machi as well, but Flash Wolves, I want to say, are doing it even more cleanly than Blanka.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be that way, but a good catch on to K-Momo, who had lost the mech previously, but the trade back is already there onto CQB, and then Randy going down as well. Even though they're getting those opening picks like what they had last time with Zonda, honestly, Hong Kong Attitude is just getting picked apart. Flash Wolves, it is kind of similar to what's happening when Blank play, actually, is they're kind of backing up and setting a bit of a trap, and then suddenly when you go in for the kill, you get closed in on, and Flash Wolves, they definitely have teeth and claws.
I think they got a little bit more than that as well, because this is just very controlled gameplay. This is very smooth. You can sort of quite see the objectives that Flash Wolves have here. It doesn't feel as scrappy as some of the other matches we have here. Look, Blank are winning. They look good when they're winning, but they also look very scrappy.
Yeah, scrappy indeed, as Mui actually able to sort of dodge a couple of headshots there, but they nearly kind of pulled it back from the brink, or at the very least gave themselves a final chance where a lot of teams wouldn't have. But yeah, that was Flash Wolves' game from start to finish.
100-0, by the way.
Exactly.
I mean,
but it is,
that says it all.
It is the first one for both of these teams meeting. It's not over yet. Maybe if Hong Kong Attitude can just sort of fix up what was going on.
So I want to see what happens now when we go to a map that's not Control Center, because that is the one map where you do get away with running something like a McCree on Zonda. Now does Zonda go back onto the Soldier that he's better known for? Does he go into Genji, actually, which is one of his other picks from Season 1? And I wonder, look, Bacon Jack's still staying onto the Doomfist, and so far it's been working out. The Doomfist Soldier combo is something that we have seen as well. Like Blank pulled this one out. It's not too bad. It works. It is very interesting, and I do still miss the Tracer from Bacon Jack, despite how well he's playing Doomfist.
Yeah, it's I think interesting as an apt term, but Zonda onto the Soldier 76 is something we know he is very strong at. So we'll see how that works out for him. Now it's a great catch onto Shaolin by Bacon Jack. Randy as well is going to get demeched and is in a very unfortunate spot. Bacon Jack closes that one up as well. Mui does trade one back on Zonda, but honestly, he's on Doomfist instead of Tracer, but he's dominating the kill feed just as much. That's another one. I mean, this is almost no different.
Yeah, I mean, I think DJ Keller said it right just then as well. Another one. Bacon Jack just picks up everything here. And the thing here is, I think Bacon Jack really wants to give Ursa a run for his money as the best Doomfist of the tournament so far. I think Ursa is a little bit more impactful still, and that's a tough thing to say because Bacon Jack does so much, and he might still have a little bit more to do, but Mui does strike back.
He absolutely does, and Zonda going down as well. This is a big opening for Hong Kong Attitude. They do lose Randy's mech, but if they can keep a Ting alive, which they should be able to do so, they have the frontline tank. Mui keeping the pressure on now as they finally close out on Randy Flash Wolves, but they're looking much worse for wear. And unless their DPS gets some kind of hero play here, it does look like Hong Kong Attitude will be able to set themselves up on the point.
Certainly their first actual fight win in this Lijiang series.
Oh, nice catch.
Xiaolin, like this is the guy that has been one of the more impressive tracers. He's not going to get that fated 1v1 Bacon Jack that I really hope to see in terms of the tracer battle, but Xiaolin's going to find his weight somewhere else into the game. Zonda's had a very interesting showing so far because I feel like he's been peppering down targets and giving the Bacon Jack a little room to get the kills. Bacon Jack wins the 1v1 as well. Look at the ultimates that Hong Kong Attitude have actually.
And the pulse bomb goes wide for Xiaolin, so now actually Flash Wolves have more ultimates as they commit their Transcendence, as does Mango. There's a lot of tranquilities being experienced right now. Hong Kong Attitude are the ones getting the kills through though, and that's what counts. The catch on Zonda was a big proponent of that, and they close out on Sigler as the Transcendence ends, and actually Hong Kong Attitude steer themselves nicely through that fight that had quite even ultimates, but Flash Wolves will walk away from it with a few more in the pocket for the next fight.
They still need to win this though, because Hong Kong Attitude are getting a lot of progress out of this, and Flash Wolves know this, so they are committing ultimates. Realman with the sound barrier. Now we're going to see Mui try and respond here. I don't think he's going to find a kill, certainly doesn't.
Oh, as you say that, what actually happened is they were actually able to separate Realman from K-Momo as K-Momo had to commit the self-destruct. Now K-Momo doesn't have that. They've lost the healer. Zonda is trying to regroup, but Bacon Jack didn't get anything with his own ultimate. And Mui is keeping in this fight. I actually am now starting to feel like Bacon Jack, he gets a lot of impressive kills, but he overextends. Mui has been playing much tidier.
I think I might have to agree with that as well. Bacon Jack, you're right, impressive, but he also dies. Now for Flash Wolves, unfortunately Zonda's also been dying, so when you have both DPSs out like that, and by the way, Flash Wolves and Hong Kong Attitude used a ton of ults in that last engagement, but Hong Kong Attitude still picking up the progress, still picking up the kills, and actually Flash Wolves might be looking to lose this.
It seems to be that way. Singular getting picked once again. They need a good tactical visor out of Zonda, but he's not in a good position to commit it. Mui, though, in a little bit too deep that time as Bacon Jack takes him out. All they've got so far is K-Momo's mech. There's going to be these tactical visor, but it's straight into a sound barrier, and there's a lot of members of Flash Wolves dead. Zonda pressured out. Good catch by a Ting. Meteor strikes by Bacon Jack to make it look good. They are trying to get on the point itself, but they are very scattered here. Bacon Jack, again, he's going to need a hero play, but Hong Kong Attitude kind of have this point tied down now to get the last few members forced off. K-Momo goes down. They need to push out Jongi as well, and they're keeping him from getting onto the point with any kind of support. There's going to be a forced ultimate out of Sigler, but it is not in time to save Jongi. Bacon Jack still keeping it alive for the team, but it is looking like it is all over but the crying. Zonda taken down by a diva. Overtime disappears. Hong Kong Attitude even up the score.
See, this is the problem, right? You just said it. Bacon Jack is still doing something for the Flash Wolves team. Unfortunately, he's the only one still pulling weight for the Flash Wolves team in that specific moment, and in many other moments as well in that engagement across the entirety of Night Market against Hong Kong Attitude. Look, Mui really started to pull his own weight there with the Doomfist and started to really match Bacon Jack, despite Bacon Jack dominating the early kill feed. And I think as a whole, Hong Kong Attitude were able to find the opportunities where Bacon Jack too extended, get the kill on him. Zonda was a bit of a non-factor, unfortunately, for Flash Wolves in that entire matchup, and something needs to change here. Zonda's going to try this again. Shailin's been here, he's kind of been there as well, and I think when Bacon Jack goes down, that's when Flash Wolves have been really hit the hardest.
And you make a good point about this Doomfist versus the Tracer, because it's been the opposite when they've run Tracer Soldier. It's like, you kill Bacon Jack, but there's still Zonda, or you kill Zonda, but there's still Bacon Jack. But right now, it seems that one can die, and actually the team starts to fall over.
It just feels like all Bacon Jack.
Yeah, it's all Bacon Jack or no Bacon Jack. And once again, it's going to be no Bacon Jack. He does at least take out Randy's mech, and Zonda will pick up Mui. So they do have a bit of an opportunity here with that Diva defense matrix not available, but they could just as easily have it turn sour on them, as Zonda getting pressured will live as he takes out a Ting. They need to get themselves on this point now, as Hong Kong Attitude have set themselves up on it.
Oh man, Zonda has permanent bodyguards for a moment. As soon as both tanks left, Zonda got taken straight down. Hong Kong Attitude now dominating the kill. They're the ones getting all the kills here. Bacon Jack's back in the fight, but his team is dead. He doesn't have a chance here. He just has to reset. So we are talking about the problems. Flash Wolves, they start a fight. Bacon Jack goes straight.
All that went through my head was like, guess who's back again? Bacon Jack, but he's dead. Just imagine that, but to the tune of without
Bacon Jack again.
Yeah. Guess who's back. Anyway, someone else could make that remix for me. CQB looking to get a cheeky boot, but it doesn't quite pull it off. Yep. Actually, he does. He gets Zonda. It's going to have to be the Bacon Jack show now. And Hong Kong Attitude looking way tight. He goes in for another What? Gets Game Momo and they get the kills to boot. Flash Wolves gonna have to take that one on the chin, and it gives Hong Kong Attitude some much needed ult charge. And actually suddenly Flash Wolves are on the cusp of losing Lijiang here.
And Flash Wolves are getting ult charge themselves, but they're so committed to this composition, they have to play at least one more fight now with exactly what they're running here. Zonda can't afford to change just yet. Bacon Jack probably can't afford to change either. And Zonda taken down super early again. He just got the tactical visor, still hasn't used a single tactical visor this entire game, and we're at least halfway through.
K-Momo nearly lost the mech there as well. That would have been a real disaster for them. He probably would have had to take a dive. Luckily keeps it. They're able to heal him up, and he will have that ultimate available. But they're going to be brawling through a very well-equipped Hong Kong Attitude.
So much control by Hong Kong Attitude here. The clean gameplay we saw in Control Center, that's all gone out the window.
Deep onto Mango Jai is Bacon Jack and Jongi both. It pays off, and that was crucial. He did not have a Transcendence, but Sinclair has now committed his. K-Momo, he's going to have to self-destruct here, lest he loses mech, and actually doesn't. He just straight up loses the mech, but they feel like they don't need it as they get the kills through. Randy does commit a self-destruct, but he won't get back in the mech with it. Bacon Jack finally gets bumped off. No! Saves himself, and a Ting commits the ultimate for nothing. It does mean Bacon Jack has to commit the ultimate, but they get the cap through. But Hong Kong Attitude pushing it up to 91%, happy to take that one because they are just still one fight away from winning.
Hong Kong Attitude is so far into the lead. This is...
It's not over yet, but they are,
It certainly isn't over yet, but this is looking rather insurmountable. Flash was just kind of crawling back in there. And off the back of saving ultimates for so long, look, Zonda finally used a tactical visor. Bacon Jack had to meteor strike just to live. So for Flash Wolves, now they're out of options. Now Hong Kong Attitude get to swing back again because they've been charging while Flash Wolves were spending to win.
Oh, and now Shailen's found the angle on Sinclair. Doesn't quite one-clip the guy, but the Transcendence is there for Mango Jai, and it isn't for Sinclair. They already convert onto Realman. Bacon Jack hard pressured. Sinclair closed out as they get Bacon Jack to boot. Pulse Bomb out. He does run it into Shailin, so he does go down for his troubles, but that's the fight win. As good as done out of Hong Kong Attitude. Yeah, it's just Realman, and he goes into retreat. They will maybe get a contest, but they're going to be booking it for the point, and they are now one fight away from winning it. Already picking Sinclair at the start of that
important.
one. It's very important.
He's so close to Transcendence, you need ultimates.
There goes Zonda now. He's got to get a lot more than just Mango Jai. That is at least one, but he's getting pressured out by this Diva. He's forced up and taken out, as is Jongi. They've got the control here as all these members are just dropping like flies. K-Momo loses the mech before he gets self-destruct. Realman, Bacon Jack, both low. Bacon Jack goes down, and that's going to be that. Sinclair finally comes on with a Transcendence. He finally feels tranquil enough, but he's going to lose his life for it anyway. He's come to peace with his death just in time as Realman as well goes down. This is their last ditch now, as the last few members of Flash Wolves going to trickle in without supports, without really good stall tools here. And the moment they step off, the overtime is going to disappear. That is indeed how it happens. And Hong Kong Attitude will take game one off Flash Wolves.
And only 2 more away from actually completing this record and beating every single team from OPC Season 1.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
I don't know. Flash Wolves keep doing this, and they keep running this composition, which half works because Bacon Jack's pulling weight, half doesn't work because Zonda's not being impactful, and then I'm going to add a third half in there, which I know is mathematically incorrect, but look, Bacon Jack dies as well, which is something, and I said this as well, Bacon Jack trying to match up to Erster in a Doomfist level play, maybe damage-wise and kills as he is, but he's not living like Erster's living, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I would even feel like he's not having the same kind of impact as Huss, because like Huss seems to right now be the better of both, you know? He's got the flashiness and kill feed potential of Bacon Jack, and he's got the survivability of Mui, and when he's getting picked off, it's because he's getting dove, not because he's diving way too deep. And yeah, look, on the very first map, it was Hong Kong Attitude struggling against that, but they adapted to it and read it very, very quickly and started punishing Bacon Jack super hard. Bacon Jack did not adapt, and suddenly Hong Kong Attitude have picked themselves up a win. I absolutely have to agree with you here. Look, maybe Flash Wolves are just wanting to try this out for now, but if that's the plan, they have to accept that it hasn't worked, and they need to change it up, or this entire series is going to go the same way as Lijiang.
So the silver lining here for Flash Wolves is because we're moving in out of control now. Control is where this is going to be the worst for them. Zonda's not going to have a good time going up against both the Doomfist and a Tracer. I mean, it's hard going up against both, I guess, a Tracer and a Genji in the sort of previous meta, but at least you had someone like Bacon Jack on the Tracer who can consistently carry his own weight on Tracer and isn't just dying on Doomfist like he kind of is currently, despite getting the kills. He's getting as many kills on Doomfist as he might get on Tracer, but he's not living as much as he is living on Tracer. And that's a big difference for the team. So we kind of describe Flash Wolves as you deal with Zonda, you don't deal with Bacon Jack. You deal with Bacon Jack, you don't deal with Zonda. Right now, it doesn't really matter because Bacon Jake you can deal with a lot easier, and then Zonda's just free. So that's a bit of a problem for Flash Wolves. Now moving into Hybrid, now moving to Assault and beyond, that's when Zonda might get a little bit more space to play with, slower game type, slower game mode. You know, got to push the payload, more time to set up, better, you know, better positions you can take on the map. Maybe Zonda shines a little bit more, but I still want to see more out of this team.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point there, actually. You know, we do start to move into slightly more Flash Wolves favored territory. But the key thing I think about this is Hong Kong Attitude have drawn first blood in this series. Yeah, we move into Flash Wolves territory, arguably, or at least slightly more favored than what Control is for them, but Hong Kong Attitude are ahead, and it could just be that they are ahead enough in terms of their overall gameplay that they're still ahead when we go to those other game types that favor Flash Wolves that little bit more. At any rate, it's fair to say that Hong Kong Attitude, you know, all the questions answered. It's been a return to form. They are looking better than Season 1, and now are very much looking like a team that can cross Flash Wolves off that hit list, like you were saying.
I think it's definitely a given now that they're coming back stronger than Season 1. Even by Week 1 standard of how they were playing, that looked better than Hong Kong Attitude from Season 1. Something else you mentioned is, actually, before we get there, let's head into the replays first before we move on anywhere else. So this is going to be on night markets, and Flash Wolves already took the first map here, so this is the second map in the series. Bacon Jack, very good.
Keep your eyes open. Yeah, this is the last time we got to see Bacon Jack really go off, and he got two.
Look at Zonda.
Then gets the counterpart in Mui because he is diving, but yeah, he takes out, Mui at least takes out Zonda before he dies. This gives Flash Wolves the opportunity to get on the point, but after that happened, after they were trying to defend the point, I actually felt like Bacon Jack didn't really know what to do anymore because he didn't really know how to hold back with his team. He was busy looking for something, going too deep, and then suddenly his team is in this really awkward 5 versus 6.
Yeah, you do sort of get that, and actually you see the evidence of it in Control Center, especially because Flash Wolves had a very clean sort of run through. They had a very advantageous streak, and then suddenly Bacon Jack's just, he's just diving to spawn almost. The other team spawn, not his own, and just after I said, look, the Flash was not making any mistakes, then Bacon Jack does that. Let's go into the next replay now, still onto night markets, and suddenly it's Hong Kong Attitude turning things around. This is about when we see Bacon Jack be a lot less impactful, and this is when Mui starts to turn things on a lot.
And note that Mui is doing it safely. I think he may just barely go down here. Actually, no, he did stay alive throughout this one. And actually, this is the thing, right? Mostly he was staying alive. He knew when he didn't have to be the one doing all the work. And I think the advantage they had by running the Doomfist Tracer is they had the extra mobility out of their DPS to close out the kills that it wasn't safe for Mui to go for. And when you can't do it with the Tracer, sometimes you can also do it with the Winston, or maybe sometimes you'll even do it with the Diva. We saw Blank do that quite a lot with Huwu. And I feel like they just had more options to work with the Doomfist if the Doomfist wasn't getting these big flashy kills, whereas Flash Wolves only really had Bacon Jack doing it himself.
Let's take a look at Gardens now, which is the third replay we've got to look forward to. And this is a much better map for Hong Kong Attitude than even night markets, and especially rather than Control Centers. Bacon Jack going down quite early. We sort of talk about, look, Control Center was when Bacon Jack started to make sort of risky plays. Night market, he definitely made risky plays, and by the time we got to Gardens, he was getting picked out straight at the top of these fights.
And the interesting thing here is, right now, Flash Wolves have a bit of a numbers advantage, but Hong Kong Attitude have set themselves up on the point, and if you look at the members of Flash Wolves and where they had to be positioned because of the kills they had each chased down, the members that needed to be together to make a concerted push onto the point, notably Bacon Jack, Jongi, and K-Momo, were all completely separated in completely different areas. Then they started moving towards the point, but Jongi got low, so he retreated off to the side, and then K-Momo's isolated, and then Bacon Jack gets picked off, and then K-Momo dies, and it all just falls to bits, right? So sure, it looked great that they got those kills, but they really didn't do themselves any favors in how they positioned to get those kills, and perhaps would have been better off having a slightly less advantageous position in terms of numbers, but setting up on the point itself.
Yeah, I think, you know, for Flash Wolves, this is certainly a little bit new. We just watched them against AHQ, you know, less than a week ago on Sunday even.
And they looked good.
That was them running the same stuff they were running in OPC Season 1, and there was honestly nothing wrong with that. Let's take a look at the new map pick. It is going to be King's Row. Not a huge surprise. Something happened.
Was that Reinhardt? I didn't
Yes,
quite.
it was a Reinhardt. It was
I
indeed.
didn't quite see it in time, but like I thought I saw something like really yellow. I guess that would have been from the Rockets, and I was like, what just happened to that
So
name?
correction here is our Hong Kong Attitude won Lijiang Tower, not Flashwolves. So Flashwolves are currently down 1 map. And something interesting that you said earlier is you mentioned, look, it's important for Hong Kong Attitude, win or lose, to actually have a good series. Take it to a map 4, take it to a map 5. We're now guaranteed at least a map 4. So Hong Kong Attitude, no matter what happens here, it's starting to look like a very competitive series.
Yeah, even if they lose it, they will have at least said that they are a team with the potential to win these kinds of games. And that's going to be important if they are going to be a playoffs team in Season 2, where they weren't quite able to make it there in Season 1.
It'd certainly be a bit of a shock if they don't make the top 4.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a minimum of top 4, and that's the kind of story for OPC Season 2 is you kind of have a good idea right now of who the top 4 might be, but exactly where inside the top 4 are the teams going to land, because it's not going to be as simple as, oh yeah, Flashwolves 21 win streak, obviously number 1, Blank and AHQ jostling for 2nd and 3rd, AHQ don't get there in the end and Blank do. It's not like that anymore. Blank could be anywhere, Ardiant could be anywhere, Flashwolves could be anywhere, AHQ might not even make the top 4, it really depends.
Yeah, and then maybe Matchy hit their stride in week 3 and absolutely dislodge Hong Kong Attitude and HQ both. We really don't know. But I think the thing that has to be said is actually at the end of Season 1, Hong Kong Attitude were top 4 material, full stop. Potentially even top 3 material. It's just
Hong Kong Attitude were literally top 4 because
it's
they
just
were
that
fourth.
and beat Blank and AHQ in the closing week, so arguably top 3 as well. But didn't really get the chance to actually, shine in that. So, if nothing else, it would be heartbreaking if they weren't able to make top 4 in Season 2, given that you really feel they would have been in Season 1 had the standings been able to move a little bit more by the time they started picking up. At any rate, this is a good start for them. Let's see how they continue that momentum on Kings Row.
I think the 2-0 would start to really give Hong Kong Attitude enough momentum to even potentially close it up 3-0, because that's when Flash will start to really fall apart. The problem is you do have to get past Flashwolves' best game mode, which is Assault, directly opposite to Blank. Look, Blank are best on Control, worst on Assault. Flashwolves worst on Control, best on Assault. So you kind of got the opposite thing happening here. And that's kind of the other problem.
And Kings Row is just Kings Row.
And we kind of have the opposite problem happening here, which is, yeah, you got past the Control, but that was actually Flashwolves' weakest. Now can you get past something that's better for them?
By the way, Hong Kong Attitude here have opted to attack first. Or was this Flashwolves' pick?
It is indeed Hong Kong Attitude's pick instead.
Yeah. So they're opting to attack first, and they're doing it with a very interesting team comp here.
Yeah, Shai-Lin's actually going to be on the Doomfist instead of the Tracer, so they're kind of doing a similar thing. In fact, the exact same thing, at least from the DPS standpoint, of what Flashwolves are doing, which is going to be the Doom McCree. I don't know, the Mick-Doom combo.
McFist.
McDoomfist.
McDoomfist, yeah.
Can I get the McDoomfist combo? Large fist. Thank you. Take one.
I'll have a McDoomfist. That's the pick. Straight onto Bacon Jack. And what I was going to say is what they can do with this is allow Shai-Lin to dive deep and put the Zarya bubble on him, and he should just be fine. The Deadeye out there is a zoning tool, didn't really find any kills, and they actually really need to get kills here given that Shai-Lin did go down. But they get a third for their trouble, so they can at least tickle themselves pleased with that. But look at the charge on Randy. They don't want to give this one up without any kind of fight, and indeed the nano boost to help do that is big as Shai-Lin re-enters the fray. And that's going to become a slam dunk for themselves. That is a great fight for Hong Kong Attitude. Absolutely tears Flashwolves to shreds. No contest on the back end of that one. And now the payload underway.
A quick push as well. Didn't really lose too many members there. And by the way, CQB is playing Mercy. Has the res. Has had the res for most of the first push. And this is a good combo. You got a lot of healing here. You know you want to play slow anyway because you got tanks. The Lucio probably doesn't help as much as you would have thought. So actually Mercy Anna is not a bad combo whatsoever.
Meteor Strike and Graviton combo.
Yeah, look.
I only just realized that that's a thing.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Welcome to.
I'm so excited now.
By the way, you can
welcome to Overwatch.
You can earth it as well. There's a lot of ways you can
here it goes, here it goes. Come on, they gotta do it, they gotta do it. Oh, okay, it looked cool, but not a lot happened. Zonda gets a double Deadeye though. That's a pretty decent trade-off. But the tempo res, and now they keep the momentum underway as Flashwolves take a big retreat. Gonna have to just take a fight on the back end of Streets phase, and that means they're only gonna get one proper defense here.
And look at the positioning of Hong Kong Attitude already have. The other great thing the Mercy provides in this composition is actually the damage boost is great. That's something that the tanks really need, because tanks traditionally just kind of lack the damage that DPSs do. Now suddenly, if you damage boost one of the tanks, you can match your DPS. You can have 3 DPSs if you want.
That's a very early sound barrier that came out of Flash Wolves there, but they do at least make it work. I feel like Mui was a little bit too far forward when he popped that Deadeye, and they did get the pick on CQB as well. So Hong Kong Attitude gonna have to take a retreat. Got the payload a good distance forward. Bacon Jack sort of helps them.
Yeah, I was going to say, he actually
gives
helped
Randy a bit of charge as well, actually, because that's who we connected onto. But
a team, go back to your team.
They do get to hold for a little bit here. They will get a proper defense. Whether or not this is going to be a permanent position is another story.
Yeah, so, you know, Flash Wolves, a ton of ultimates here, and I think Hong Kong Attitude, this is going to be a difficult position for them, like you said. We need another res perhaps to come into here. A good trade so far. Maybe they can work this as tank for tank, but there's a lot more tanks for Hong Kong.
Bacon Jack getting, looking for CQB rather. They do find Shaolin. And actually now Bacon Jack is able to go off a little bit more, and that is going to be Flash Wolves actually digging in their heels. And not far back by the payload, by the way. That was very far forward for Flash Wolves.
I do like their positioning though, because they're kind of preventing Hong Kong Attitude from even attempting to play for the objective, which is something quite important for this attacking team to try and do. The payload does nothing here. It's actually starting to move back. Now for Flash Wolves, they're equalizing on this defense. And Hong Kong Attitude, because they're not running a very mobile lineup, they can't actually die for their payload either easily.
They had a lot of momentum previously, but yeah, now that they've lost that momentum, they're struggling a little bit. Jongi gets displaced, forced to pop the Primal Rage, and has to go hunting now for CQB to make something happen of it. He actually makes it work. A Ting does pick Bacon Jack, but kind of leaves his backline as exposed. Now without healers, they're looking very worse for wear, and they're kind of allowing Flash Wolves to make these aggressive moves and not quite reacting to them adequately, I feel.
So we kind of felt like there were a few problems with Zonda on control on the Lijiang map. You know, stuff he was playing didn't feel very impactful. Now that we're onto King's Road, this map is a lot more narrow, a lot more room for Zonda to play with. He's been getting kills in the Deadeye. He's been getting kills in general, and he's been outplaying Mui consistently.
Good heavens, would you look at the time. Does pop the Reinhardt shield with that, though, so that is something. But now, as a full runner ultimates for Hong Kong Attitude, honestly, if they can't get the momentum now, they maybe never will.
I definitely think that's the case. Sinclair's going to be ready with, well, in fact, both the defensive ultimates. In fact, they're not even going to need that. You're going to have Sinclair getting the first kill in the Shining, and this is going to severely slow down this push.
Yeah, it really is, and they committed the Deadeye to that as well to try and create some space for them to move into, but weren't able to get anything out of it. Now, they're just kind of backing way, way up to try again.
Oh, I see what they're doing. They're going to go up the top left and directly past the position that Flash Wolves are doing. This is pretty smart, and I kind of feel silly for not recognizing this earlier, and you got to feel silly if you're Hong Kong Attitude not recognizing this earlier either.
Yeah, especially when you've been held up in this spot for so long, and that is the risk that Flash Wolves are taking by going here, by the way. They do read that it's coming, so they are at least a little bit in position, but there's the Meteor Strike to go up for Shaolin. Let's see where he opts to go. As Bacon Jack goes in deep, yeah, good dodge out of CQB, and Bacon Jack has to go in full retreat. He's not going to have any impact on this fight. He's going to have a long path to get back to his team, as they're just kind of fighting in this narrow corridor. CQB still goes down to the pick, though. That is so rough, and yeah, they need that res, and without it, they just end up getting wiped. It was looking good in that corridor because of the Zarya beam, but they weren't able to leverage it. They weren't able to close out the kills, and now CQB has just had to swap.
Well, that narrow space is just bad for everybody. I mean, if you're Hong Kong Attitude, all 6 of your members just stuck there. Suddenly, the tanks from Flash Wolves completely demolish you. If you're CQB on the Mercy, where are you supposed to go right now? You got no one to fly.
Yeah.
There's no Pharah. You're stuck just like everyone else, and you die.
Oh, and Zonda, the only one he needed to get was Shaolin, and that is who he gets. That's a Graviton out as well, but there can be no follow-up, and this is looking really rough now for Hong Kong Attitude. Slightly undisciplined by Randy, given that the DPS is already dead. A Ting gets picked as well. And honestly, look at how far back the payload has moved. Luckily, it's the maximum distance that counts. CQB going down as well, and less than 15 seconds to go. This is looking really harsh for Hong Kong Attitude.
At least if you're going to go into the overtime, you want the payload to be somewhat closer to you, man. Zonda's still getting kills. Zongi's still getting a lot of damage in there.
Oh, Mui with the flashbang. Yeah, this is absolutely gross. They finally get someone on the payload, and Shaolin has to commit a Meteor Strike just to get to it, but he goes down straight away. And yeah, that impact of Zondas you were talking about, there you see it, folks. A Ting takes a nano boost at the end just for style points, but that, I mean, there's digging in your heels, and then there's like shoving them, I don't know.
Okay, there's digging in your heels, and then there's digging in your opponent's heels also. Like, I don't know if that's possible.
I was gonna like make like a line in the sand thing. Like that was more like Dunkirk. It's like not only did they dig in their heels and defend, like they also forced the enemy team to like retreat fully off the beach. Like they were stuck in their spawn for a moment there. That was an incredible kind of defense out of Flash Wolves. after what was an incredible offense and momentum out of Hong Kong Attitude.
That first cap was great from Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah.
Right? They had a lot going for them there, but once you get to the streets, and this does make sense to me, at least.
By the way, this is really spooky somehow.
Oh, certainly. I mean, you're looking at it from an angle that you really sort of see, and that's spooky even more so because the camera just kind
ominous,
of dive. But what I want to recognize about Flash Walls there is once they got to the actual streets phase, that's when a composition like Hong Kong Attitude were running do start to run out of steam a little bit because they don't have the speed boost from Lucio. And I said, like, maybe that doesn't really matter because you're a slow pushing team anyway. You just want to leverage, slow push, just run, not run, but walk forward, damage boost, nursing the back line. But actually, you struggle to take the high ground against a team that's a little bit more mobile, who is, I want to say that the Doomfist from the other side, Bacon Jack, did a lot more room there. You actually find it hard to engage on a guy like Zonda because he can still engage you from very far away. Mui didn't get a lot done on his own McCree, unfortunately. And suddenly, you're kind of just, if you're Hong Kong Attitude, you don't know what you're doing anymore. You don't know where you're supposed to go. They tried to make that play on the top left, got trapped themselves, and nothing was working.
Well, now on the defense. They're actually not opting for the Mercy here, which is interesting. They were willing to pull it on the offense there, but they don't quite want the res. Oh, Mango Giant. Nearly took the body shot.
You just never got a res, and that's part of the problem. So, I don't know. Maybe go back on the Lucio instead.
Mango Giant finally able to top off his health, and yeah, this is going to be the push now out of Flash Walls. Bacon Jack back to the Doomfist.
Bacon Jack's definitely been doing a lot on this Doomfist, and it's still yet to be seen whether this is a good combo for Flash Walls to continue running. If they win this map, that argument might be a little bit stronger, but Lijiang still needs to be addressed.
It did feel a little more refined on their defense there than it did on Lijiang Tower, but I feel a part of that was just Zonda was actually able to have more of an impact himself to kind of shore up where Bacon Jack was maybe overextending.
So I'd like to see, Flash Walls now. Still a big question is Zonda. What's he going to be able to do? Is Bacon Jack still just have to be the main weapon for Flash Walls, and is Zonda not going to have the impact?
Oh, a Ting getting a little bit displaced, but Mui keeping that one on lockdown is not going to let Bacon Jack follow it up. That is good. Pressure being applied by him. Oh, but Zonda gets the return strike there. And actually, Flash Walls are kind of like fully swapped the position around. It's a very good timing on the Deadeye, but it doesn't pay off at all. Mui will be able to rejoin the team eventually here. Hong Kong Attitude, they need to get some picks here, though, if they want to keep this one alive. Honestly, Flash Wolves being on the wrong side of their own spawn are doing wondrously here. They do take a little bit longer than Hong Kong Attitude did, but they are going to get themselves a point cap without a final contest out of Hong Kong Attitude.
So that was really important because Bacon Jack went down early again, which is a separate issue that needs to be addressed for Flash Wolves. But, the question was, if Bacon Jack goes down early on Lijiang Tower, that means Flash Wolves just lose because Zonda can't do anything. On King's Row, Zonda seriously steps up. He gets a kill onto Movie, then he gets about 2 to 3 other kills right after that. He gets given so much space because Hong Kong Attitude are playing such a slow composition.
All right, let's see how they pull off the streets phase, because honestly, Hong Kong Attitude had a bit of a free run through this section. Randy nearly has a grab, and they've got this Deadeye to give themselves some space, so they should be able to hold up Flash Walls and at least bleed down the clock a bit more.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude definitely need to play close here to the choke. This is where they've got to be quite successful, especially with the grab.
That's a great connect on the grab, plus the nano boost onto Randy to give him the extra damage. They close out on the tank, crucially, and took Bacon Jack out. Zonda, yeah, Deadeye. I'm not sure what he was planning to get out of that. Unfortunately for himself, he loses his life, and that's exactly what Hong Kong Attitude wanted.
Perhaps Zonda's changing heroes. That would make sense to me. Otherwise, that was a pretty, silly play coming out of it. A little bit of overcommit from Hong Kong Attitude as well. You should really be able to get the team wipe off just the Graviton Surge. The fact that they had to commit the Earth Shadow as well, I think that says a lot.
Oh, that's a great pick on a Ting as well. The team not quite retreating in time. Shaolin as well. They were opting to pull back because they needed CQB and Mango Chai back with the team, but they did not retreat at all early enough.
Yeah, now Flash was just continuing with this on, and they're not going to have to push it too far either because Hong Kong Attitude got stopped up by, not too far after this. Flash Wall's got a little bit of momentum. They've dodged the grab now. They dodged the Earth Shatter. There's no huge ultimates for Hong Kong Attitude to really stop this next push.
Yeah, honestly, the space and window that Hong Kong Attitude made for themselves with that good early fight, they've now just lost completely with that botched retreat. So now Bacon Jack diving deep. A Ting, very much out of position. He loses his life for it despite the sound barrier. They had to convert kills quick, smart, or this is going to be over very quickly for Hong Kong Attitude. Bacon Jack going very deep. K-Moment gets a pick. No one's on the cart. Flash Walls push it through the line, and I don't believe believe it. Hong Kong Attitude just completely crumbled after doing everything right.
It's definitely looking like, I was going to say a reverse sweep, but Hong Kong Attitude only just won one map, so I guess to count as a reverse sweep, Hong Kong Attitude needed to have one King's Row as well. So this is the part that gets very difficult because King's Row was more neutral ground between both teams. Moving into Assault, definitely way more favored for a team like Flash Wolves, and certainly just coming off this performance, looking at the way Zonda has been performing when given that kind of space, when playing a map that allows him to have the kind of positioning that he does have against a specific composition like Hong Kong Attitude that are playing super slow with these kind of the more heavy tanks, as I like to call them, then you're not going to be able to touch Zonda, despite being able to kill Bacon Jack.
I kind of feel a little bit there like Hong Kong Attitude won and lost by their own play, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because to me that says they had the potential to win it outright, but failed to capitalize on that potential ultimately. And the reason I say that is on their own offense, they were actually looking incredibly good. Flash Wolves were able to get one good defense, and then I'm going to be honest, they played extremely greedy and Hong Kong Attitude didn't punish them. And what Hong Kong Attitude needed to do to punish them was change up their team comp. I know that they didn't want to because they would have been sacrificing a lot of ult charge, you know, they wanted to stick with the Mercy, etc., but honestly, it cost them, and it was a bit of a surprisingly undisciplined thing out of them. And then on their own defense, I mean, we just saw it just then. They had a good fight. They made the right call. They pulled it off. They did commit maybe one resource too many, but then totally botched their retreat. That's what cost them more than committing the Earth Shatter onto the Grav, and that was what robbed them of the space they'd just made. So it's like, look, maybe they would have still lost, I'll be honest. Maybe Flash Wolves would have still won the next fight and got it over the line anyway. But Hong Kong Attitude did not do themselves any favors and kind of lost it for themselves in a sense. And that's really unfortunate because up to that point, they looked great.
Let's take a look at the replays now as we're going to head into that sort of top area play that Hong Kong Attitude tried to do. And you can actually see that they're getting stuck in this top side and just kind of getting cornered by Flash Wolves. And this is a big detriment. It's a big advantage for Hong Kong Attitude to try and push this way. It's also a huge death trap, and Zhongyi's Primal Rage really helped them out there. You did see the Earth Shatter come out from a Ting right on the front lines. It did catch K-Momo, but not enough to save them there. And something else I wanted to add to that as well, what you were saying about the attack for Hong Kong Attitude, and certainly they weren't willing to swap off because they were afraid of losing ults. Actually, they were losing ults for different reasons. They were losing ults because they weren't spending ults. If you're not spending ults, you're not recharging ults either, which means you're not getting any value out of the ults you currently have. And CQB in particular never got a chance to res during street phase.
And that's the thing, like that's the trade-off with Mercy as well, and that's why it was maybe just a little bit undisciplined. You know, they probably would have got more leverage out of the Lucio in general anyway. You can understand him maybe wanting to hold to get at least one good res before swapping off, but I mean, you saw in that fight, right? The only person he could have res before he died was a Ting, and the team would have probably still lost that fight anyway. And it was just like, Flash Wolves read that they hadn't changed, that was what they were wanting to do, so they made sure that CQB was the target. And then when you're Hong Kong Attitude, it's like, okay, well, we can try and save CQB so that we can justify that pick, and that ended up messing up their own positioning of their Zarya Reinhardt frontline. And it was honestly just a little bit of undisciplined play in terms of the team comp, and Flash Wolves took total advantage of it.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, the attack for Flash Wolves. Certainly, I would say not as dominant as what Hong Kong Attitude had on their attack, but look, for Flash Wolves, they don't really need it. They get that nice sort of swap around, and Zonda really goes off in a big way after killing Mui.
Yeah, and that's the key thing is after killing Mui, because they had lost Bacon Jack. Bacon Jack had to reinforce from the wrong side of the fight, but it ended up not mattering because by the time he was there, Flash Wolves knew that they had to start going. They had the defensive ultimates banked up, so they could commit those and force Hong Kong Attitude back. So there was this real window where Flash Wolves kind of swapped positions with Hong Kong Attitude and wouldn't have had anywhere to retreat to had Hong Kong Attitude gone on the aggressive, but they kind of didn't. And then Flash Wolves had this point where suddenly they were able to pincer in from the two sides where they had most of their team and then also Bacon Jack, and actually trapped Hong Kong Attitude on the point that they were trying to defend.
So the interesting thing about the McCree and the Doomfist combo together is the fact that a Rising Uppercut displaces someone in a way where McCree can get really easy shots,
very clean
including
sidelines.
headshots onto that player. So that's a really interesting, I guess, line of play that you can combo together. So I guess justification.
It's like whack-a-mole.
Justification, yeah, but like one at a time. Justification for Flash Wolves is the fact that look, you have a very competent McCree play in Zonda. And actually, so far, Bacon Jack has shown really good gameplay on Doomfist. And if you're gonna play Doomfist McCree, that's just who you got to go with. You're not gonna go with Bacon Jack on the McCree because Zonda's got a better McCree.
Yeah.
Both players play Doomfist. I wasn't super impressed by Zonda's Doomfist against AHQ, so Bacon Jack's certainly done a better job with that. That now makes a lot more sense to me why they're running it like this, but it didn't really work out for them on Lijiang Tower. And when they ran the McCree, it worked on Control Center. When Zonda went to Soldier, nah, didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You almost wonder if actually it's this particular Doomfist McCree thing, and maybe they actually can't make it work with the Soldier, which would be a bit of a flexibility issue for them. But at any rate, yeah, look, they've hit a stride. They've found something that's worked for now, and it's picked up a win for them. The series is evened up, and that's as good as what Flash Wolves can ask for right now.
All right, let's look forward to a little bit more McDoomfist gameplay as we're about to head into map 3, which should be coming up very shortly. Flash Wolves and Hong Kong Attitude 1-for-1 the scoreline, and it all happens after this break. Thanks very much for sticking through that break with us as we're about to head into map number 3 of our final match of the evening, week 2, day 1. Pixie, your AVRL. We're about to head into Flash Wolves against Hong Kong Attitude.
Jam Flash Wolves, your Hong Kong Attitude. We're about to head into Pixie versus AVRL.
You're the Kong of the Attitude. All right, I can't remember which one was
I'm the Hong, you're the Kong.
Which one was the good attitude again?
You guys bring the attitude.
You guys are the attitude. Yeah. All right.
You guys know that's who we do this for. You and your attitude. Oh man, we're going nuts here. It's
I'm the Flash, you're the Wolf. I don't know. 1-1 is the scoreline though. So look, we're going into Assault.
I missed that episode of Game of Thrones.
Did you?
Yeah, the Flash versus the Wolf.
That's episode 8 of the season. That's the
right, yeah.
I don't have.
I don't watch it when it leaks. I'm a good person. But all right, let's actually talk about Overwatch because the series is tied 1-1. Hong Kong Attitude kind of striking first on that one. Flash Wolves taking it back now on Kings Row, and now Flash Wolves do get that third pick for it being their home side. Yep. They're going to take Horizon, Lunar Colony, and I do have to note, both teams so far have won on the enemy team's pick. Maybe that trend's going to continue.
I would think. I mean, that'd be quite poetic, but
you're just too distracted by Game of Thrones right now. I just really want John and Danny to get together. Like that's all I can think about.
I thought about it a lot, and you know what? Sounds great. Okay, but the thing is for Flash Wolves is, look, it's their map pick. B, really favoured on Assault, and I mean like really favoured because they had one of the best win rates, if not the actual best win rate on Assault for Season 1 in total, and actually they're looking just as good on Assault as they did in Season 1, so that's definitely something. And interesting enough, we're not talking about Flash Wolves losing at the World Cup. The one map that they did win, Assault.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I mean, as much as Horizon Lunar Colony adds a bit of a wild card into their mix, at the same time, they're just great on the game mode in general. They've practiced well on Horizon Lunar Colony, and they do look good when they play it. Plus, I mean, maybe it won't specifically be this Doomfist McCree thing they got going on, but they've got the capability with the Doomfist, and when they've got the right composition to kind of maximize off it so that Bacon Jack can dive a bit more safely, sparks fly.
Unsurprisingly, I think we're going to see more Doomfist still on this map. This is probably one of the more favorable Doomfist maps of the Assault lineup. I think
after stealing the first, he rocket punched his way to the moon. That's how he got here.
I'd like to actually see, because the rocket punch, right, it's not based off his own momentum as punching. So, you twist your body, you punch, but you don't fly when you punch. There's something within the actual fist itself that makes you fly.
That's the rocket. It just does it.
So how far can it actually go? Because I don't want to believe that it actually just takes you like 3 or 4 meters forward. Like, can you actually make it go? Can you actually start flying with it?
Yeah, like if you've got enough fuel, could it just keep going?
Like, do you fly like Superman, but not with both fists?
No, it's like one? It's like when you see like Thor do the thing with the hammer. I'll be honest, I still don't get how that works. Like he just spins it and suddenly he flies. It's like everyone else has their thing they do where they fly, right? Where they like actually legitimately fly. Like Pharaoh's got like a jetpack, and now Mercy's got this wing thing, and then Doomfist just like points his fist up in the air and just like takes off. You see him flying around led by his fist.
I like to see, at least lore-wise, if you die in the anti-grav or the no-grav area, you actually just infinitely float into space, or something like that. Because
you never respawn, and eventually your body like lands down on Lijiang Tower.
Eventually, the Uber from Volskaya picks you up, and you go to Volskaya. So there it is.
Yeah.
That's
a spicy reference. But out the gate now, nothing too spicy here for Hong Kong Attitude.
They are still running the Rhine Zion. Look, they ran into a lot of problems with that on King's Row. Maybe we can shore up those problems now because this is maybe a slightly more friendly map for them. No Doomfist from Hong Kong, from Flash Wolves though, so that's interesting.
Yeah, well, they had some struggles, but also some successes. So I think in one regard, this is obviously what they practiced, and there's a bit of if it ain't broke, don't fix it going on. We're going to have to see how they can kind of push through this choke point, because the Reinhardt gives them a lot of ways they can do that, and they're really just looking to tank bust here. No one getting any kills just yet, though, and Shaolin the first to go down. There we go. That's going to crack it wide open now as Bacon Jack looks to get aggressive on a Ting. He's not going to relent at all. Not on the Doomfist, by the way, but they are going to repel this first attack from Hong Kong Attitude.
And it does look like Hong Kong Attitude tried a lot to muscle in there, and the muscle being, you know, how healthy can we keep the shield? How much can we actually move in? Flash Wolves, they just keep the door closed.
Mui isolated.
Make sure that no one from Hong Kong Attitude can actually come in. And you're right, Mui dying late there. This is going to slow down things for Hong Kong Attitude a little bit more. We're starting to see a little bit of King's Row back again. It's just continuously Flash Wolves stonewalling Hong Kong Attitude. Mui now swapping things up.
Yeah, quick changeover. He just wants to get the influential picks here, and they want to open up that wide open space in the middle.
It's a little bit weird with the rest of the composition,
yeah.
But Mui, I like to see him make it work, see what happens here. Because actually, it's difficult for Flash Wolves to counter this. Flash Wolves don't have a Tracer. They're not running a Genji. They don't have a Doomfist. You can't exactly dive onto Mui. Mui gets a lot of free shots.
Yeah.
He can work with it.
And he gets good sightlines through here as well. Bacon Jack getting picked off is exactly what they need. Shaolin safe through the sound barrier as well. Singler getting committed upon. He will get a nano boost off first, but he's honestly struggling. Jongi finally goes deep onto Mui, but while he's doing that, I mean, who's doing anything with the rest of the team? Zonda, nano boost, and tactical visor gets nothing for it as Shaolin finds another pick. They may get pincered in by Jongi in a moment here, but with the boost onto Randy, he's going to be the only tank on this point here as K-Momo gets pressured off. And actually, Hong Kong Attitude are set up on this Flash Wolves. They've got the numbers to go in for another fight. I expect that they will, but they've put themselves in this position and may just have to see.
And maybe for Hong Kong Attitude, you actually don't want to spend ults here, so the goal for Flash Wolves is to try and come in here, force the ults to be spent, and then suddenly to eliminate a lot of that pressure that you have to sort of deal with. And Bacon Jack says a little bit more. He actually just wants to win this cap for Flash Wolves again.
Does get the 2 there, but they're not really out of the woods just yet. That is an unfollowable Graviton Surge, unfortunately, and also just not give them the time to close out the point. That was a really bizarre commit, I'll be completely honest.
Well, that's the thing. That's actually the best case scenario for Flash Wolves because, like I said, for Hong Kong Attitude, your goal is to not spend ults and just cap for free. For Flash Wolves, you don't want that to happen. You don't want a snowball from Hong Kong Attitude, so you want to force him to ult. And Bacon Jack won up that even further. He said, not only are we going to make you ult here, but also we're going to defend because I got 3 kills.
Time flies when you're having fun, by the way. Less than a minute remaining, and they need to get this final third here. 89.7% would not be a comfortable position for them to have to defend from. And they're now lacking in a couple of key resources. All they really have is this Meteor Strike, and they need to get some good picks.
Yeah, they don't have the combo opportunity either because the grab has already gone. Not that the last time we saw the combo was really that good, but, you know.
Zonda opens up with attack visor and he gets Randy with it. He does have to turn around and face the other way. They lose Bacon Jack, so that's something that they needed. Zonda's actually pinned down out here by Mui. That's a little unfortunate for him. But Mui doesn't exactly have anyone who can heal him up. Meanwhile, on the point itself, Zonda, yeah, he does take out his counterpart. Now he can turn back around and address the rest of the fight. CQB finishes him off, though, and Shaolin trying to go deep with the Meteor Strike. Again, they're still lacking in these actual picks, but Shaolin finally starting to get them through as he catches Sinkler on the back end of it too. Does go down to Jongi, but it is looking like Hong Kong Attitude should be able to keep this one in lockdown. He's just looking for a good Earthshatter to secure it, and that's the one. Gets Jongi and Realman on the back end of it as well. Will be able to close out on Realman, and they should just barely be able to get this cap over at last.
Yeah, finally for Flash Wolves again, you know, they are losing a lot of members here. This is a very token defense for Hong Kong, for Flash Wolves rather. I hope they don't spend anything, not that they have any ultimates, but if they do get one, probably don't use it here. I don't know that Flash Wolves can actually hold on to this, but I could be wrong because Hong Kong Attitude suddenly, they're not getting any more kills.
The members that trickled in didn't actually get killed as they trickled in. The sleep on Shaolin wasn't quite followed up on. They do start to reinforce themselves here, Hong Kong Attitude. So Mui, wow, comes in, gets a bunch. Ooh, it was more than a token defense out of Flash Wolves, but it was a good attack out of Hong Kong Attitude. That's a huge way to finish that last little bit off. given that they nearly let that one slip away from them. So now they have a good number of ultimates for point B.
Man, that was so tough for Hong Kong Attitude to push on through. They thought they had it really easy. I thought they were going to have it quite easy before Randy threw up that Graviton Surge when half his team died. It wasn't really... I kind of sort of see what was going on there, and Bacon Jack really went up. He got the triple kill onto the Reaper that stopped that, and since then, Hong Kong Attitude only barely scraped past, even right at the end in the overtime.
Yeah, now though they absolutely have the resources to get a good kind of wipe here.
Got the combo.
Yeah, ideally they want to draw some ultimates out of Flash Wolves though, just because of what they have available, and they also need to get a good position through that defense matrix is what I'm trying to say, and they do indeed get that Meteor Strike down. Gets one, and that's better than nothing, but Randy unfortunately going down in that they need to get a bit more than this because Flash Wolves are getting these kills through. They do pick Zonda, but they're not really in position to get anything off it. They can't get a third on the point. They commit all their resources, and they're going to get nothing for it. Now the defender's advantage is going to slowly start overpowering Hong Kong Attitude, and if Jongi can stay disciplined and not blow his ultimate here, indeed he does, this is a really good position now for Flash Wolves.
That was actually a lot of kills from Hong Kong Attitude. Shylin got a decent amount there. He got one for the Meteor Strike onto, I believe it was Real Mint, and then managed to get Sinclair in the middle of that as well. But for Hong Kong Attitude, they couldn't clean up the tank, so it came down to Jongi and K-Momo stealing alive. K-Momo killed Shylin in the middle of his rampage, and that kind of just ended Hong Kong Attitude's push altogether because their respawn distance a little bit too long, overpowered by the defense.
Yeah, Randy going down to his own right click was really rough as well. But now they do still have 2 minutes on the clock. They do still have plenty of opportunities. It's just going to be hard fought no matter how it plays out. Magojai committing to boost onto a Ting. They need to get something for it. Shylin's already picked off, and Mui's getting low, and they're just going to have to take another retreat on the chin with now even less resources as they come in for the next fight. A Ting.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, he got K-Momo, and he decides to commit here, but this is just... That's just a resource now off the table. Very, very undisciplined out of a Ting.
And the thing is, like, it looks flashy. Yeah, you got a couple kills here, but these kills just immediately respawn. Bacon Jack's back in the fight. K-Momo's back in the fight. You spin an ult, but you didn't convert into progress. If you spin ults, you need to get that point on the cap. You need to get a third out of it. You need something. Spending ults, getting kills, but getting no progress, that's a waste. Yeah,
it's really unfortunate for them, and it's not the first slightly undisciplined play we've seen out of them, indeed out of a Ting. It was an old weakness of his, but one that we felt he kind of shored up. Bacon Jack goes wide on the pulse bomb there, but he gets good chunk of damage onto Randy. They try and go for the route here. Oh, and they even close out the mech. That's, oh no, he held on to it. No, he didn't. Never mind, I'm a liar. Looked like he was just barely going to get away with that one, but actually losing the mech now and getting away is even worse.
So look at the position Flash Wolves are in. 5 ultimates available now. You even have, Zonda, who's been doing a fairly good job of just staying alive in general on this phone, despite not having a Mercy. Sinclair and Realm are just topping off when they can. And Hong Kong Attitude, similar position to what we saw into Cap A, really struggled. In fact, this time, I'm not too sure they can actually finish it even in the overtime, just because Flash Wolves, the respawn distance is so close, Hong Kong Attitude so unfavored. Man goes down early as well. This is a reset.
Yeah, one of the few ultimates they had absolutely has to be a reset. This is the sort of fight I would have called unwinnable, when there's those 5 ultimates available and you've got like next to nothing. When Mango Joe was picked, yeah, it sealed the deal.
Zonda's changing. I think he might be changing here. That would make sense to me. That's why he blew an ult, because otherwise I'm not too sure what he did that for. And there it is.
Yeah, onto the Soldier now. And they don't really need him to be on the Pharos.
Or not. I don't know. He doesn't know what he wants to do either.
He's just not sure.
He's like a high school graduate. I don't know what I'm doing.
They need to get a huge tack visor here. They really do. They've gone back to the Zarya Reinhardt as well. They're looking to get a lot of work done out of these shields. They need to keep their healers alive, though. Transcendence kind of forced out there, and they get the kills. This is big, actually. Picking up those opening 3, they'll secure themselves a third at the very least if they play the rest of this tidy. Sound barrier to do so as they get the pressure onto Jongi, who is trying to take out these back liners. They need to deal with him, and their respawns are starting to come in now for Flash Wolves. They have to close out on Jongi quick and then regroup, take out these DPS members. They've got to get the angles, but they lose a Ting. They do not have the front line, and Zonda with the nano boost is exerting a ton of pressure as CQB just kind of drops in front of his shotguns. No third for you, no sir. Hong Kong Attitude are going to get rebuffed here. A final juncture. Last legs to come out of Mui, but he is going to get taken down. And on the cusp of getting that third, they unfortunately couldn't convert that crucial kill onto Jongi quick enough and regroup. And they do get repelled the final time.
And it's just the tanks again. I mean, the first good, I guess, push out of Hong Kong Attitude on the second was, like, you managed to get the DPSs, Shylin got a bunch of kills, but you couldn't get past K-Momo, couldn't get past Jongi. This time around again, Sinclair, Transcendence, or was it rather Realment with Transcendence? They're sort of swapping and changing. the Flash Wolves support, they do that. Whoever was the Zenyatta, Transcendence came out, didn't save the 3 members that died. Zonda got picked out by Shaolin on the Doofus very, very early. And that looked like a very poor defense from Flash Wolves, despite, you know, what was probably pretty solid right up until then. It's interesting that Hong Kong Attitude really make their way and really make the distance with their pushes right into the overtime. That's probably not where you want to be making the distance.
No.
And certainly it showed they just barely got it past the line on Cap A. Not going to happen on Cap B. Just not the same situation you can really play into.
I think the thing that really saved them on that final one, it was actually this position where Hong Kong Attitude could have closed out on the tanks, got close to a team wipe. And when you've got those healers, when you've got that delayed respawn as well, when all the enemy is on the point, they probably would have got 2/3 out of that. They maybe even got the full cap if after that it had gone even better. They got another fight win, but at the very least could have got 2/3. The thing that saved Flash Wolves was Jongi forcing Mui away from the fight and also Mango Jice. They were lacking that one crucial healer to shore up the members that were on the point. They were only there with the Lucio, and Mui wasn't able to exert pressure on the members that were respawning.
Yeah, absolutely. Primal Rage from Jongi pushing out Mui, then he came over with self-destruct as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of scattering key members right off the cap itself, relieving that pressure from Hong Kong Attitude. They just couldn't reinforce quickly enough. Meanwhile, Flash Wolves' easy reinforcements. Your cap and your spawn is just right there, your neighbors, in fact. So, I mean, it's just a thing that happens. Flash Wolves come back in, still save a couple of the ultimates from their death as well, and pretty easy stuff. And Hong Kong Attitude, nearly, but nearly is not good enough.
Yeah, and I mean, even the first point felt like it was on the cusp of being a nearly, but not quite there. And that says a lot, you know, the fact that the first point was almost that situation. Well, you kind of expected the second point was going to be a not quite enough.
All right, so Bacon Jack is now back onto the Doomfist, at least for this attack. We're not going to see the McCree come out, so trying to force the Soldier Doomfist again. I think for this combination, I do like the McCree better for the reasons previously listed. Get the setups with the uppercuts for the McCree headshots. That's what's really effective. Not really the same thing with the Soldier, but we'll see what Flash Wolves do.
Hong Kong Attitude running their own Soldier as well, and also running the Reinhardt Zarius. They're sticking with that one, picking Sigler at the top. Good way for them to go. And Zonda as well, so that should be Flash Wolves going into full retreat here. It's just going to be whether or not Shaolin gets more off the back, really.
It's difficult for Flash Wolves to retreat because you see the way they actually wrapped around. To start with, they went to the hard left, through the hydroponics bay, then to the back of Camp A. So by the time Zonda went down, by the time they started losing members, they're super heavily committed onto Camp A. So the fact that they got out with anybody at all, I was expecting a full team wipe from Hong Kong Attitude, but Flash Wolves managed to hold on just to a few members.
Now let's, Mui got a little bit low there. That was nearly a little bit troublesome, but he is going to be able to keep himself alive. I kind of want to see how much Judge Randy has because he's been able to stay alive, and by now I would expect him to have 70 plus. That's the sort of place where he gets really, really strong.
The other thing is Randy suffered from having very low energy on his attack from Hong Kong Attitude's last
It was
attack.
just really apathetic, you know?
It just really wasn't working super well for him. So, you know, we'll see if he can really pick up here.
Hacked visor, but he's just getting pressured back. He's getting good damage down, and he's actually able to get topped off. That's big for them as they do take out Zonda. They lose Randy, but they were forcing the Flash Wolves into a really tight spot with that visor. They've kept Mui alive as well. They should be able to keep the aggression on here. Well, indeed, defense on as Flash Wolves come in with the recommit, and that is exactly what they do. Is a team goes deep. They have Shaolin to keep exerting the pressure. And Flash Wolves were on the wrong side of that one thanks to the Tac Visor. Weren't really able to push back in. Do get themselves actually not even quite a third. That is really unfortunate.
Yeah, Flash was committed there as well. They used the Transcendence. Zonda already died before that happened. Zonda as well. Tac Visor, I guess, was used. I didn't quite catch that, but he's sitting on very low ultimate charge, so you can only assume. Now Flash Wolves have to sort of cycle different ults for this attack, but it is hard because you're getting to the stage where Randy finally gets the Graviton Surge. You don't have too many options against it. Especially not with the Transcendence.
Yeah, I'll tell you, after a hard-fought push onto point A and then failing to cap point B, getting a full holdout here would be great news for Hong Kong Attitude. And only a minute and a half left to go with some good ultimates to cycle through. Let's see if they can do it.
And certainly within the realm of possibility, it would certainly be a huge loss for Flash Wolves as well.
Bacon Jack right into the thick of it, gets put to sleep. That's big for him. Just completely CC'd on his back there as Zonda gets picked as well. And yeah, that should be a holdout for Hong Kong Attitude. Trade Meteor Strike for Meteor Strike. The self-destruct committed out of K-Momo just to try and buy space and time, but I don't know what they expect to do with it. Maybe he was just wanting to save his own life, but perhaps should have held onto it. At any rate, will retreat successfully, but now less than a minute to go.
The tables have fully flipped.
Oh,
I mean,
D-Max.
they can just leave him here. They don't need to kill him. I would not kill him here in this situation. You've got to waste a lot of time for flash walls. And absolutely, so flash walls came over, has to remake it. It's going to take a long time. You don't have time. That's not a currency that flash walls have to spend. You're playing into a grab now as well. So crucially, you need this mech. It is so important. If you lose to grab, it's all over.
And they will just barely be able to get back in the mech with maybe just under 30 seconds left. So it's a lot of time used up. Movie going very aggressive in with this to count off Bacon Jack as they're trying to go for a wraparound. And they can afford to commit these resources. They don't even have to get anyone else from that because Flash Walls are in total disarray. Jongi picked off, and they would still have to fight into a Graviton on the point at this point. Singlet going down as well, and Hong Kong Attitude happy to just back up, knowing that they can stall up Flash Walls with the grab for this last 10 seconds.
Oh, this is so tight now, so close, and guess what? Grab is still available. You still have a win condition, and actually, Shailen's not that far from
No one's on it, no one's on it. K-Momo finally jets to the point with the sound barrier so that he will survive just long enough.
Brandy alive, yes,
Brandy and dive indeed. He gets it through the defense matrix. They need to just get the kills now as the Meteor Strike comes down. Zonda gets one through though, but they close up on K-Momo. Now looking to get Zonda, they close him out. Shailen looking to hold it on lockdown for his team. Singlet does come in with the Transcendence, but it's looking like too little too late. And unless Bacon Jack makes a hero play, it is all over Rover for Flash Walls. Hong Kong Attitude secure it. First point hold, not even a third cap. That's how you do it. And Hong Kong Attitude now 2-1 up in the series.
And only one map away from completing their hit list as well. I mean, if you're the faceless man right now, you're grinning with that without a face.
The worst.
You have a mouth, but none of the rest of the face is there.
That's terrifying. So I think one of the most unfortunate things that could have happened out of this series would have been for Hong Kong Attitude to get that map 1 win and then just get look worse and worse and worse, or rather have Flash Walls perform better and better and better and close it out as a 3-1 against you and like an almost.
That's what happened with AHQ, right?
Exactly. Picking up this win, they are one away, like you said, from actually just straight up winning the series. That would be huge for them, not just for the sort of hit list joke we got going on, but also
hey, it's not a joke.
In terms of their scoreline and in terms of what it means for their ability to make top 4 this season. And even if they don't get that now, it is going to have been a full 5 games where they really came off even. It is not a case of one team slowly overcoming the other. It would be an even.
Look, Hong Kong Attitude is a total roller coaster of a team because this is a team that...
Please keep your hands and feet inside the Attitude.
Please keep your Hong and your Kong inside the Attitude. So Hong Kong Attitude. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for you? Let's get into a replay.
By such surprise.
Let's get into a replay. Why? It's been a running joke for now, like a season.
Let's talk about Overwatch. Let's talk about Overwatch. I'm getting sick of
So this is where Mui... okay, well, thank you. Mui has now swapped on to the Widowmaker. And if I'm not mistaken here, Bacon Jack really saves this fight. I think this is the fight where you expect for Hong Kong Attitude to be able to pull a one through. I think Randy looking to grab here. He should be grabbing, but he grabs after most of his members are already dead. I think it's the play 2 kills already. Bacon Jack should pick up one more.
So now he goes for the grab
after this, and
the thing is, Shailen is dead now, and Mui isn't really there. Like he's a Widowmaker. He can't really capitalize off a grab. Something interesting was happening both in that fight and then the one that came after it, though, that I really do have to compliment Mui for. He was sometimes getting kills, but when he wasn't able to get kills, he was really good at punishing any members of Flash Wolves that were wrapping around the front, namely Zonda, who ended up being totally pinned down by Mui. And sort of went, okay, I'm just going to put up my biotic field here and try and kill Mui without getting headshot. And then maybe I can come back in for the rest of the fight. He finally killed Mui. The rest of his team was mostly dead. And then he got killed by the members of Hong Kong Attitude that were there. So even when he couldn't have sightlines, Mui was still very useful.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be a little bit later on. Still the attack for Hong Kong Attitude, though, nonetheless. And I'm pretty sure they got held out here. You can see from Zhongyi and both came over. These are the 2 attacks that really made this holdout possible. Should be a primal rage at any moment from Zhongyi as well. Everyone died. It was just the tanks, but just the tanks was just enough.
Yeah, it's kind of exactly it. Just the tanks is just enough. And we also talked about what ended up being the final fight for the defense there, where Zhongyi kind of pulled it through for the team. But honestly, every single fight on that second point for Hong Kong Attitude was like something went wrong here or there. Maybe it was Mango Jai gets picked at the top. Maybe it was your tanks are the first to die and you don't quite pile onto the point adequately. Maybe you don't get the trade kills. Whatever it happened to be, something was always going wrong for them, and indeed right for Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
We see that a lot on Assault. That's how a lot of second point attacks tend to go. And that's the challenge to overcome, but the reality is Hong Kong Attitude never overcame that challenge.
Let's take a look at the next replay now, the third one of the series. This is going to be the final. Oh, okay, never mind. We're not going to get.
No,
there.
don't watch. We're not watching anything.
All right. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
my ears.
So it's just-
I do want to explain a little bit. You know, I mentioned that Hong Kong Attitude were a roller coaster of a team. Now, they're a roller coaster of a team because of the fact that they beat Liberland Supreme, not hugely unexpected. They lost to Ardia, not hugely unexpected. They got 3-0 by Mega Thunder. And now they're beating Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening to this team? I don't understand. Like, and are they going to beat Flash Wolves? Because it's a roller coaster in the sense, like, look, you got a first map, then you got kind of destroyed on King's Row. Let's be quite honest with that. And now you're on to, you just played Horizon Lunar Colony. Very, very convincing, especially a first point hold, a Cap A hold. That's rare. That doesn't just happen a lot. And now we're about to go into map 4. Does it swing the other way? I mean, is this the down part of the roller coaster where
So-
it's like, wee?
So here's the thing.
Like, what? Where are we in this roller coaster ride right now?
Here's the thing. The thing I do honestly have to. I kind of want to go back to this. Like, I noticed this before Assault, and I was kind of saying it jokingly, but like maybe actually, how they were winning on the enemy team's pick, right? And if that continues, Hong Kong Attitude win this series.
Yeah,
But they
going
don't
to
win
map
it.
5.
Yeah, they don't win it until 3:30 in the morning.
For us.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Or if it's just like that grueling Hong Kong Attitude match that went through the best of 5 in season 1 with a bunch of golden points. It also won't end
Yeah,
till
I
3 a.m.
remember
for
that.
them either. So
Yeah, I remember. It was, yeah. But by the time they were finished, it was like the sun was up.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Oh,
rough.
good
It was
morning.
rough. It's like it's winter and the sun was up.
So by the time they won, it was like, well, let's get ready for day 2 matches.
yeah. Welcome back.
Let's get straight into day 2.
We just went and got a coffee and came straight back. It was rough. No, we do exaggerate, but actually you make an interesting point. They had like an absolute marathon series. The one thing that does actually mean, the one thing that is still relevant here and now, is it means that they are a team with a lot of stamina. Like that's actually a really significant thing. 2-1 up in this series. With that stamina, look, they could drop this one, and at no point would they ever have that defeatist attitude of what if it all goes pear-shaped from here. They will always reset themselves, come in fresh and calm and ready, and you actually see that right now on their own map pick. They are as ready to close it out right now as they are to lose it and have to do it in Game 5.
Oh man, we really could be going to a Game 5 as well. And that I don't even know how to feel after that, because you make it to a Game 5, you have a position now where Hong Kong Attitude are ahead. It would be such a shame for Hong Kong Attitude to not actually win, but specifically not to win against Flash Wolves, because this would mean a lot. This would mean so much specifically for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, they would only get one more guaranteed chance to take out Flash.
And then they leave OPC on a high. They're like, yep, we're done. We completed. We finished OPC. We completed our run.
Yeah, we actually we finished OPC. We 100%.
We 100%.
100% at OPC. That's all they want. Like Blank have done it, AHQ have done it, Flash Wolves did it twice. Hong Kong Attitude just want 100% OPC at least once. That's all they want.
Tell you what though, when those other 3 teams did it, and Flash Wolves, by the way, did it twice, that's really important to remember. They did it all in the space of 1 round.
They did it undefeated. They speed ran it. It was a speed run 100%.
Yeah, and Flash
Hong
Wolves,
Kong Attitude are doing a casual playthrough. Hi, I'm Hong Kong Attitude, and this is my Let's Play of OPC season.
Yeah. Let's play OPC. But in a lot of Let's Plays, the best parts of the Let's Plays is when you actually fail and the guy loses. So like this is the Hong Kong Attitude part. It's like, well, it was just too hard. How do I get past this boss? I don't know.
Yeah. They just end up giving up. Or like they get their friend's older brother to come around and get past the difficult boss for them.
By the way, this rock of Gibraltar is just straight up in the middle of...
It's actually just a rock.
It is actually just a rock surrounded by a lot of water.
Thing is, they're not actually on the rock of Gibraltar. They are at Gibraltar, but for some reason they're just totally disconnected from the mainland. This rock doesn't exist in the real world.
Like this made-up
particular
rock.
one. Yeah, like the actual rock of Gibraltar does exist.
So you're telling me stuff in Overwatch doesn't exist in real life?
Yeah, some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I also believe in Santa, so that makes sense.
Yeah, like Junkertown though, Junkertown does exist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I'm glad they're changing it to takeaway instead of takeout, because they don't say.
Is that actually real?
They don't say takeout in Australia. So when you go to Junkertown, that sign actually says takeaway, and honestly, Blizzard did not do their research.
Enemies detected.
I don't know what to take away from that comment, but we are going to head into now Gibraltar. And
Probably-
by the way,
Probably
Hong Kong
suspicion chips.
Hong Kong attitude choosing to attack again.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
And what's also interesting is they're choosing to do it with Mubi on this Widowmaker, who has already got himself a
this is
snazzy
dangerous.
headshot.
I don't know about that,
Yeah,
Mubi.
very dangerous. Needed to get an aerial off that, and now actually it all goes pear-shaped. The Zonda was not displaced, and the team is overextended and just kind of looks a bit silly.
It looked like Mui was more interested in making a highlight reel there than necessarily winning the game for his team. So maybe change your priorities a little bit on that one. Also aggressive play from Zonda. We actually did see that against AHQ. Dizzy was sniping against him in a very similar situation. And Zonda says, I'm not going to sit at the back and let you snipe me. I'm just going to come up and rifle you down.
I'm the sniper now.
Not really. He's the assault rifler who runs at you and rifles you down. He's not even interested in counter sniping you.
What if it was like just one of Soldier's bullets could potentially headshot? Would that not just be the worst feeling?
Oh, so you're talking about pre-nerf Beta McCree, which could out-snipe a Widowmaker.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember those days. Oh dear, that was yeah.
Oh.
I also remember like way back in Alpha when Farah's voice line was way faster and way more high pitched, and they ended up re-recording it because it sounded too stupid. That's a real thing. Go look up like Alpha gameplay.
I don't know that I played that far back, but here we go.
I didn't play it, but like I watched it. I overwatched.
Oh, okay, please.
Bacon,
Okay.
There we go.
So that's
another
actually the
headshot.
second time. This is the second time now that Mui has claimed this headshot onto Bacon Jake. The last time, though,
Good
Zonda
pressure onto
but
Zonda.
Zonda goes, so both DPSs down
Yeah.
is really big. But last time we saw this, Zhongyi came over and kept it alive. Can they do it again?
I don't think so, because what's crucial here is look at where they're fighting. Actually, Zhongyi and Kimomo were completely separated from Sinclair. All the Hong Kong Attitude really needed to do there was make space, right? Make space for the payload to get pushed through, and that's exactly what they did.
Mui's going to still stick onto this for... Wow, that was
Jeez.
a great one. Okay,
3 for 3, that's a hat trick.
Suddenly that highlight is becoming more of a reality for Mui. He's not giving up on it just yet. You're not going to get the flashy little flick plays with the hook shots as well. But Bacon Jake is not having a good time against Mui.
You get like the 360 no scopes and like in your montage.
Zonda needs positioning here too, and what you actually want to notice here is that Hong Kong actually have full control of this high ground section. Zonda's going to have to push around a different side. In fact, he's on the ground right now. The big problem I noticed, no one's pushing card.
Ooh, Shaolin gets very hard pressure, but it is going to be safe. Transcendence committed by Mango Jai. Mui gets picked by Zonda, unfortunately. So, yeah, no one's playing the card. They kind of have to commit to it now. And that actually means Flash Wolves can finally start moving around this corner where they were previously pinned. But it's not going to happen without a fight. Bacon Jack does get Shaolin, but not until he's taken out Zhongyi, and Zonda goes down as well. Again, it's a case of Hong Kong Attitude only needs space. Self-destruct gives them more of it. And they're keeping some movement on the payload. It's not heaps, but they're not just going to roll over once Flash Wolves hit the go button. In fact, quite the opposite. They now force a Transcendence out of Realment, and they may start to get repelled again, but they've drawn a lot of resources out of Flash Wolves here.
I think they used a lot of resources themselves as well. Now, Mui's going to commit the infra side. I think right about now, the highlight clip ends for Mui, and you do actually want to swap off to something else slightly more useful. You're going to get these picks, and the really concerning thing for me about Hong Kong Attitude is despite getting these headshots into Bacon Jake, what are Hong Kong Attitude doing about that? How can they actually turn that into something else? Because you're not playing the card. You're not getting good progress, so these headshots, they don't count for anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the trade-off with Widowmaker. Widowmaker is not a hero that's going to be able to play the objective.
But everyone else, you got 5
no matter
other
what the
members.
objective is, exactly. Which actually means she has to kill 2 people in order for you to get a numbers advantage on the objective. And that's not
revenge.
That's the opposite.
That's a revenge kill if I've ever seen one. I think if ever time you want to change off Mui, now would be a pretty good time to do that.
This is a sign. This is a sign from above. And by above, I mean Bacon Jack. Hallowed be thy name.
And just by the way, how great is it to see Bacon Jack and Zonda playing the Tracer Soldier again? This is the Bacon Jack and Zonda.
The greatest
I like.
hits of Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves, this is what I want to see.
It's like you went to the Flash Wolves concert and they kept playing the crap from the new album, then they finally played, you know, Bacon Jack on Tracer and Zonda on Soldier 76. It's just the best feeling.
Yeah, so far it definitely seems to be working out though. Good body blocks, by the way. Jongi's had enough though. He's going to push that one right out.
He absolutely is, and that means Mui is going to really have to brawl out of this room along with Shaolin, and they're really struggling to do so. Just completely pushed back by that biotic grenade. They kind of have to give respect to what's going on here, and that means Flash Wolves kind of have Hong Kong attitude pinned now.
135 remaining, so time is, I guess, the pressing matter for Hong Kong attitude. And again, you got to go back to the fact that they didn't play the card earlier. Now they're struggling to get the progress moving forward despite the amount of time remaining. This isn't where you want to be, already losing members quite early.
Committed a sound barrier so they could try and get out of this space and get into a fight, but even with that, Magojai got picked off and they had to retreat, so now they're just kind of using resources for no gain at all. This is looking really rough for Hong Kong attitude.
Charlotte needs to find these picks. I mean,
I'm being reminded of Kings Row right now.
A little bit. I'm being reminded of certain points of Horizon as well, but certainly Kings Row has to spring to mind as the most accurate, I guess, comparison of what this looks like from Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's almost the exact same. The moment the momentum got stopped up, they're just getting pushed way back. Oh, wow. Killed and slept, and that was just really, really rough. The ultimate going completely wide as well for Mui. And again, Hong Kong attitude struggling to kind of break into this. They're not getting any return kills. They just keep getting caught up in awkward spots. Yeah, it is indeed Kings Row. Flash Wolves are just pincering in no matter what it is Hong Kong attitude try and do. They can't seem to break out. Shaolin did not need a punch forward there. He needed to go in full retreat. So they opt to swap up now out onto this Reaper. Randy able to get out with his life just barely, but this is looking really rough.
But you know what this is? This is now Flash Wolves saying no more experimentation, no more Doomfist shenanigans. I'm not going to try anything different here. What won us last season? This is the winning combo. Ride on the horse that got you here in the first place, and then you can get yourself a win.
Yeah, the trick is that the horse's name is Friday. But here's going to be Hong Kong attitude with the final push. They do get to get closer to the payload, given that it's reset that much. Shaolin in with the meteor strike. Didn't find anyone, but he's pressuring out Zonda. Doesn't quite close out the kill just yet, though. KMOMO demech'd, and Bacon Jack picks up a key one as Zonda is able to stay back safe. They get some more payload distance, but they need to close out kills. They got a bit of momentum, but Shaolin's down, and they haven't picked up the DPS, who are now coming back into the fray here. Zonda and Bacon Jack both. K-Momo may be asleep, but he does not mind Zonda. Tac fires it out to start securing it out. He only gets the damage on a couple before going down, but it's all they needed as Bacon Jack is still there to close it out. Hong Kong attitude looking very slim on the point, and boom, no time. They hold.
This is the Flash Wolves we know and remember. This is the Flash Wolves that won OPC Season 1, not the Flash Wolves that's currently down 2 maps against Hong Kong attitude. And for Hong Kong attitude as well, look, if you're going to beat Flash Wolves, you need to beat this Flash Wolves. You're not just beating the Flash Wolves that's trying Doomfist strategies out. You're beating the Flash Wolves that beat everyone last season. This is what's going to feel like a real victory if you're Hong Kong attitude, and you can get there.
And they're going to have a really hard defense ahead of them. We've absolutely seen teams hold before point 1 on Gibraltar specifically, but it's a hard ask because at the same time, Watchpoint Gibraltar is one of the maps we see most frequently make it all the way to the 3rd point.
Absolutely as well, and you know, never say never, because we just saw Horizon Lunar Colony where, look, it looked extremely dire for Hong Kong attitude, then suddenly this massive flip around. Where did that point A cap come from? Rather, point A hold come from? And actually looks back in terms of a bit of a history lesson. We just came from week 1 where the way that Mega Thunder beat Hong Kong attitude was exactly in that same fashion. We saw Volskaya, Hong Kong attitude. Look, they looked like they were fairly much in the lead. They held Cap B against Mega Thunder, then suddenly Cap A, Mega Thunder just held it against Hong Kong attitude. So, you know, these type of turnarounds, we've already seen it a number of times just in this season. So, can Hong Kong attitude do that again against Flash Wolves? It's not impossible, but it is a big ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, look, after this, as much as we've been saying, yeah, they just seem to like swap depending on who picks the map. After this, if Hong Kong attitude do lose it, they do go back to hybrid, which they lost previously with Kings Row. And if you lose the hybrid and the escort, both extremely similar map types, you kind of expect to be less favored on that second escort.
We're certainly not
hybrid.
We're certainly not going back to control. We're certainly not going back to assault either, unless you have a specific moment where on hybrid you have a draw and no one caps the first cap, which is, you know, still an unlikely thing considering that Flash Wolves are here. Stranger things have happened, so never rule it out. But the win conditions...
If anyone's going to go to Game 5 Golden Point on Escort, it will be Hong Kong attitude.
Game 5 will be hybrid, though, so I don't know. Yeah, I think you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. Hong Kong attitude are that team that have just historically been one of the few teams that go into these best of 5 situations. The only team to do it back-to-back in the same evening as well. But look, the win conditions for Hong Kong Attitude overall for this evening, for this match as a whole, are starting to get very, very slim. You're starting to not really be able to identify, okay, well, we won 2 maps and we won because of these reasons, and suddenly we talk about the Hong Kong Attitude roller coaster. This is definitely the dip of that roller coaster.
Yeah, and well, actually, it may be the dip, or it may actually be the topmost side of the loop-to-loop, and you're really not sure where you are. Like, yeah. Gravity's kind of not applying for that brief second. Like, you don't know. Like, you just don't know what's coming next. That's why it's a roller coaster.
And I don't know what's coming next for Hong Kong Attitude, because the fact that we're bringing up, look, can they just make this a draw? Can they just get this miraculous first hold? Are they going to pull some magical bunnies out of a hat like Blank kind of do? You know, we have to mention this stuff because with Hong Kong Attitude, you're just not too sure.
Yeah, it may well
really
happen.
are not too sure.
I did not expect them to first hold on Horizon Lunar Colony, I will be completely honest, and then they did. So maybe they just hold before point 1 on Watchpoint Gibraltar. And actually, we have seen Flash Wolves get held in that spot.
Exactly. Again, it's not completely impossible. Big ask though, but if anyone's going to pull it off, look, I think it should probably be Hong Kong Attitude. They've made it this far. Might as well keep going.
You know that Gibraltar is owned by Britain? Even though it's on the Iberian Peninsula with Spain and Portugal, it's completely surrounded by Spain. It's owned by Britain. Huh. So it's actually not Spain.
So if it's operated by Overwatch, who's it owned by? Who has jurisdiction?
Well, they don't own the whole city of Gibraltar, but like this watch point would be in that city. It's like, if Starbucks has a premises in a city, they don't own the city. Like, that's what Watchpoint Gibraltar is. It's owned by Overwatch, but it's not like, oh, Overwatch owns Gibraltar.
Overwatch is not a country.
Yeah.
Overwatch become their own sovereign country.
Based out of Antarctica. You're not allowed to do that, actually. You're not allowed to.
No one can own Antarctica.
You're not allowed to claim Antarctica, but people totally still have.
I mean, like, it's not really the kind of place you want to claim either, to be really fair, but hey, each to their own.
Just you wait till they find oil there. Just saying.
Okay, we are back to the CQB fair though, but we're not going to see the heavy.
That's not actually an Orisa.
What?
They had an Orisa for a brief moment, but no, it's not going to happen that way. Hong Kong Attitude just going to kind of back off a little bit in this early point. They don't want to lose anyone too early because they know that they have to hold before this blast off.
I actually think they need to apply a little bit more early pressure, the same way Flash Wolves do, because now you've given it a little bit too much free push. We talk about teams giving too much respect. That's exactly what this looks like from Hong Kong Attitude's end right now, because the card already making its way uphill, and still get Hong Kong Attitude not able to find a fight opening, and Shailin nearly did.
Woo, he does back off just barely. That was a little bit dicey here, but Bacon Jack is looking to kind of pounce on that exposed weakness now as they catch Mango Jai around the wraparound. And already this is looking a little bit slim for Hong Kong Attitude. They have to hold right here. Shailin is pressured out. There's only one healer left to do it. Rez not available. Mango Jai is going to have the long walk back to his team. And suddenly Hong Kong Attitude are completely surrounded in this kettle here as Jongi picking up CQB. They close out on Shailin, and already this is looking rough. Look at it, it's not all over. They can still actually hold in the hangar. It's not like this is the only place where they can hold, but all the ground is held by
Look at the setup. Look at the setup specifically from Zonda. He's in a spot that's kind of impenetrable for Hong Kong Attitude. It's not impossible because you are running Shailin, but look at that. Just snipes out CQB. He's got total control of the high ground. Once Zonda gets here, Hong Kong Attitude have very little options to displace him.
And they didn't actually defend it either. They didn't have Mui, their own soldier, set up in that spot, at least not adequately, because of course he died. So they kind of allowed Zonda to take the scrap. They didn't give it to him, but they allowed it to happen.
He forcibly takes a turn. Look, dying is never adequate, so that's just something that Hong Kong Attitude, unfortunately, the situation they get themselves in, but I think a lack of aggression, their lack of initiative. We talk about how the fact that they never quite took an early fight until the very end, and they're still not going to get a fight that they want because Bacon Jack's opening them up.
A Ting ran that pulse bomb into Mango Jai. That's super rough and already numbers disadvantage now. Randy, no self-destruct to buy him time. Shailin trying to go up big. He gets a couple, but he goes down. They need to get a lot more. They need to get these DPS. Crucially, Mui is still in position on this high ground, but he does need to get a sightline to the payload. Self-destruct. Oh, and Jongi actually forces him off that. But it looks like Hong Kong Attitude have held maybe just for now as Randy was able to get back in the mech. And a Ting held out with that Primal Rage.
I think if Jongi can keep this one going for the team, I mean, Jongi can do a lot. Sound barrier being used as well. I think Flashfuls know that they can definitely still do this.
Randy's got the self-destruct though, which can kind of just separate up the team a little bit, but they lose Shaylin and a Ting, so maybe it won't happen. Mui needs to do a lot more than just kill Reamond. They need Randy to pull some weight as well, because the Ting is still regrouping, and Shaylin's dead, Mui picked off, and Flashfuls, so little room left to go here. Hong Kong Attitude, they aren't going down without a fight, and it is a damn good fight at that, but they are just lacking in the members. They aren't getting the return kills. All they're doing is holding out, and it's looking like that hold is about to end. Just over a meter to go. This is the last man on the payload. There it goes over the line. Yeah, no one getting kills through, and that's going to be 2 for 2, and we are indeed going to a game 5.
Oh, man, this is a nauseating ride from Hong Kong Attitude. I want to get off Mr. Hong Kong Attitude right now. This is
Mr. Bose's wild.
This is really
Mr.
tough
Hong Kong Attitude's
because that was so incredibly dominant from Flashfuls. That absolutely looked like control. In fact, I might even go as far as to say perhaps even a little bit more dominant. Debatable, so I don't really know about that. Probably about even. I think that's actually accurate, but. Just a stark difference. Look how aggressive Flashfuls get. Look how aggressive Flashfuls know that they can get. Zonda picking up so many kills in a specific area that really shouldn't have happened. I think Mui decided to play Sniper a little bit too long. Yeah, he got a couple of good trades there. He got a lot of good picks, specifically onto Bacon Jake. But the big question remains, what does the team do about that? Nothing. They didn't get anything done with the picks. They didn't play for the payload, didn't get the progress, couldn't convert kills into actual objective, and that is a big pitfall of a lot of teams. Something Hong Kong Attitude need to be able to address going into map 5 if they actually want to win the series.
And I feel like they never really knew how to take the high ground. They seem to be finding themselves in this position quite often against Flashfuls, and we'll see it actually in action here. They didn't really know even how to get into the hangar after a certain point, after they got initially repelled. It seemed like Flashfuls just had all these great positions, but look, there are still ways to get in. It's not this impossible thing. Teams do it all the time, and it's actually just Hong Kong Attitude not adequately reading Flashfuls' defensive setup. This was in the overtime, and it was kind of their last hurrah. Up till this point, they hadn't got any progress on the payload. In fact, it had fallen back as far as you saw just at the start of this fight. And then here is the closeout from Flashfuls, because even as the payload started moving, they knew all they had to do was give it space, and then they could come in, re-aggress onto Hong Kong Attitude, and repel the final attack altogether.
I think area control is quite important there, and it definitely showed in Flashfuls' attack. It showed in Flashfuls' defense, though, as well. And for a couple of moments there, the one time they didn't have area control was when Hong Kong Attitude got that initial push on out through. Follow-up headshot from Mui onto Bacon Jack as well really slowed down the defensive progress for Hong Kong Attitude, well, rather for Flashfuls. But that was when I noticed, hold up, no one is pushing the cart. Cool, you have your tanks on the high ground, you got shuttle control, you're preventing Zonda from getting where he wants, but also Flashfuls are preventing you from where you want your cart to be.
Yeah.
And actually, they're not even doing that. You're doing that yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, they just really seemed to struggle and struggle to read the situation and react to it, figure out an in, and execute. And when you put all those things together, that is everything you need to do. So Hong Kong Attitude struggled. They struggled against Flashfuls, and that's odd because at other times they've just totally not struggled at all. Like Lijiang Tower, they looked really, really great. Even on the one they lost, they didn't look too bad. I mean, Bacon Jack was running rampant, but he was playing greedy, and once they'd kind of figured that out and reacted to that, they did fine. And the fact that they could figure that out and react to it, but couldn't figure out and react to Flashfuls' defense, both here and previously on King's Row, is really strange. Like, it's not like the team lacks the ability to do that. They're just, for some reason, not.
So, you know, I kind of do want to address as well Flashfuls, because suddenly their team going back to something tried and true like the Tracer Soldier, that's when they start to really shine. And you got to consider, if they do that again on map number 5, you know, I don't know if Hong Kong Attitude can pull it together. Maybe. Because where Flashfuls have been losing is when they're trying out Doom for stuff. When they're not trying out Doom for stuff, they're looking great again. And we're going to have to find out what map 5 is very, very soon. What are Flashfuls going to do? More interestingly enough, what are Hong Kong Attitude going to do? Where on that roller coaster are we going to be sitting at? That's all happening after this break. Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen, as we're about to head into the 5th and final map of Hong Kong Attitude versus Flashfuls for the evening.
Yeah, it has to be
the last
decided.
map of the evening, and between this series, Hong Kong Attitude so close to taking this one out. And I guess you got to say the same for Flash. We're so close to taking this one out.
Yeah, and the reason we say it feels close for Hong Kong Attitude is twofold. First of all, it's because they picked up the first map win, and you know they got the lead, and then they opened it out to 2-1. So on both Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and then wherever we go next, they are going to be the team that had it at match point for longest. The second reason we say Hong Kong Attitude felt like they were doing well and they were ahead is because at the end of Season 1, Flash Wolves, of course, made it to playoffs and then won the whole tournament. Hong Kong Attitude didn't even get to make playoffs at all, despite beating the other two teams that did make it to playoffs. So in terms of the overall gap between these two teams, it has absolutely narrowed. And also from Season 1, Flash Wolves are the only team Hong Kong Attitude didn't beat. That's something they clearly want to achieve. So that's all something that's very much in the sights of Hong Kong Attitude. But look, they really need to get it over the line. Otherwise, none of that really counts for anything.
Definitely have to agree with that. And look, this is a close series, but a close series isn't a win unless you actually win. So for Hong Kong Attitude, it sounds so obvious when you laugh at it. Like,
close series is
like it's not a win unless you win.
Yeah, it's not a win unless you win.
That's a true statement, no matter what.
This guy is a professional Overwatch analyst, guys. You don't win until you win.
Yep.
And look, neither team has won yet, so
look,
no one's
you win
won.
Overwatch by winning.
Yes.
That's what I've learned from my time in this game.
And look, if you're losing too much, you should really just try winning more.
Thank you for that. Thanks for that, Pixie. But Hollywood has been the map pick. It is also Flash Wolves' map pick as the home team now. Home and away, look, this starts to get really, I guess, it does matter here because Flash Wolves in a best of 5 do get 3 of the map picks versus 2. Had this been, you know, at the 4th map, it's still rather even, and it is interesting that teams are winning on the other team's picks so far. If that trend does continue, maybe we see Hong Kong Attitude come out ahead. At the same time, just like before the break we were talking about this, I'm expecting Flash Wolves to be going for something more conventional. The Tracer Soldier, that's what they've been running, that's what they've been winning on, and that's what they will most likely finish tonight on as well.
I just want to point out, by the way, that Hollywood sign reminds me, the first time I ever saw Huwoo's name, I didn't really read it properly, and I thought he was called Hollywoo.
Not even Hollywood, just Hollywood.
Yeah, it was Hollywoo. Like, and I found it really confusing. Like, I said Hollywood, and then I was like, sorry, Hollywoo. And then someone pointed out, like, it's Huwoo. Like, both of those were wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What,
I don't know how I got it
D
wrong.
none of the above? I don't know.
Yeah, D none of the above. He's actually just Huwoo. Which, by the way, is just like the reverse of woohoo.
It is, and actually that's interesting because I know some people have been really caught up by that. That really throws you off. It definitely throws some people off if you're not
I could have
familiar with it.
excused myself for accidentally calling him woohoo, but I don't know where I got Hollywoo from. In any case, he is not in this map at all, but the map is still Hollywood, and we have Hong Kong Attitude versus Flash Wolves. It all comes down to this.
And they get to attack again, this time not by their choice, but I'm sure they don't mind because it seems like they want to attack even on their own choice, so why not Hong Kong Attitude? You do you.
Yeah, you do you indeed. No Torbjorns to be coming out on the defense. We haven't really seen any Torbjorns.
Okay, Flash Wolves are doing Doomfist stuff again. I think they're going to lose. I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, yeah. Well, and also it's their map pick, so they're going to lose. Like that's what the trend has been so far. So like the sides are all aligning. Oh, even then they get a headshot on Shaolin. So maybe they're going to buck the trend. I don't know.
Right, and no opportunity to get counter trades
either,
so, you know, if they lose a second player, waste a little bit more time.
That'll be an EMP.
You're sort of at that mark now where 1 minute has basically gone. This is the time is just so valuable here when you really look at it, when you really break it down. A quarter of your attack is now gone and you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and not even like a counter pick to show for it, or really the ult charge that comes to that. Maybe we're going to opt onto this McCree now as well. And I don't blame him for all this. There's a lot of great squishy targets here on Flash Wolves to headshot.
And like, I actually don't mind the McDoomfist combo anymore because, you know, you do get the possibility of some big plays from Mui.
Especially when you upsize to a large.
Yeah, some large plays from Mui, and he has been sort of showing that as well so far at least. But the big EMP coming through, that'll really shut down Shine.
And there it goes. And there's the aggression on Tyrannic. That's a good punch to take out Zonda, though. And actually, that means the EMP is about to run out here. They have an opportunity to get into the thick of it now. They will be fighting through Sinclair's Transcendence, but they'll have one of their own.
What's going on?
Yeah, they do have to go. Zonda's going to get back at this rate. Here's the go button with the Transcendence out from the defending side and the sound barrier out from the attacking side. That no one's really converted anything out of it, though. And Flash Wolves, they're finally getting repelled. There we go. Good pick on the Bacon Jack, but Zonda's rejoined the fray anyway. Mui finds one with the Deadeye, but that's all they needed as they demech Kimomo. And they took a bit of extra time there. I don't know if it was necessary time, but maybe they just needed to collect themselves. At any rate, it pays off. They have the point here, unless Flash Wolves go for a real big last-ditch push.
I would like to see them collect themselves a little bit quicker there, because it does give me flashbacks back to Gibraltar, where, look, you get headshots into Bacon Jack from Mui, but nothing happens, and I don't want another situation for Hong Kong Attitude where you get these picks onto crucial players on the Flash Wolves side, and nothing happens. They are making momentum plays, so Mui is getting shots, he is connecting Deadeyes and all that kind of good stuff. Bacon Jack and Jongi were big players, at least on Lunar Colony, that were really holding up Hong Kong Attitude's attack. It's good to see that they're now getting past the tanks.
Now, what we have seen, though, in the past on these payload-oriented maps, both Escort and Hybrid, is this similar kind of thing. Hong Kong Attitude get it underway, they'll get a good amount of distance, then Flash Wolves will find a way to stop them, and then drive them like way back and have a really far forward defense that Hong Kong Attitude just never seem to break. So actually, that's what Hong Kong Attitude now have to break.
Yeah, and they have to get past the Zonda defense as well, because if I'm not mistaken, Zonda did switch back onto Soldier. I'm pretty sure Zonda does.
He's still on Sombra right now. Bacon Jack has swapped back. Okay. But I wouldn't be surprised if after an EMP, he does swap onto Soldier.
You know, you would assume that, because I don't remember Sombra being played by Flash Wolves on the second cap. During the Streets phase, that's usually when Zonda swaps off. So the thing about Flash Wolves are, they do have set plays, they do have set strategies. We've already seen this from the World Cup. If you watch their matches on Hollywood, and they play plenty of Hollywood, this is exactly the way they like to play Hollywood. Zonda starts as the Sombra there. Of course, on that World Cup patch, you don't have Doomfist, so Bacon Jack played the Tracer. It's kind of like a whatever thing here. Bacon Jack, he's been doing pretty good on the Doomfist anyway, so why not? I guess the why not part is because you've actually been losing with the attitude beating on it. But, you know, hey, don't listen to me. You just do your thing. Don't mind me here. You're doing all right.
All right, well, here we go. Let's see how this Sombra pays off for them. They need to get like a crucial hack or something. Actually connects one onto a pretty ideal target, but it can't get the follow-up, and his supports are already dead. Jongi is getting something done for it. Will actually take out Mui as well. May even be able to take out CQB. That would be pretty significant for them, but now we're starting to get beaten back just a touch, and unfortunately, that's all it's going to take to push back Hong Kong Attitude, even though they got both of those healers. That's really unfortunate.
I really want Jongi, sorry, not Jongi, but Zonda to pull off a good EMP here, because after that, he can finally swap off the Sombra, and then that's when Flash Wolves start to really turn on their defense, at least in my opinion.
I want him to use his ultimate so that he doesn't play this trash hero. Like when you're angry at your own teammate.
I don't know what that was. I think that would have been a decent EMP as well. You would have at least caught Shylin at a minimum, and that would have stopped up any other push from Hong Kong Attitude. But you might be looking for a little bit of a better push here. You are also risking yourself a little bit. Mango Jai or CQB could get a really good defensive ultimate. That could stop the EMP from.
It's a good pulse bomb, and it's actually forced out the self-destruct, which just gets bubbled over by Jongi. Now Zonda looks for the EMP. There it goes, straight onto Mango Jai, but he does lose his life for it. And unfortunately, the tanks are going to go straight down off the back of it. Hong Kong Attitude taking a fight loss there resoundingly, and they're getting stopped up much earlier than previously.
Absolutely, they're getting stopped up in a pretty crucial area. I think Cap 2 has been pretty hard for Hong Kong Attitude. You look back at Kings Row, you look back at Gibraltar. This is exactly where they get stopped up, and these are the maps with cards involved. These are the maps where the escorting is actually part of the game objective, and that's where Hong Kong Attitude have been weak at.
They really need to find a way to break this through, and they should be able to, surely. I mean, this is their kind of cooldown. They're going to go in with the Deadeye. They don't get anything for it, and they commit the Transcendence as well, so they have to convert now. Double Sound Barrier, the second Transcendence out of Sinclair, and still no kills for Hong Kong Attitude. That's what they're really looking for. Now Sonda can come in with this EMP to give them the tools they need to secure. They trade supports for support so far. Losing Bacon Jack could be the difference here. Shylin is just barely staying alive. He doesn't have any supports to retreat to, and that health back's hacked, buddy, but they're able to just sort of barely keep in the fight. Jongi is stalling this one out for dear life, though, and that's all they're going to end up needing. And once again, as Hong Kong Attitude gets some good kills, they do not secure it, and Jongi keeps them alive. And I feel like Hong Kong Attitude are actually giving up a bit easy in some of these situations.
Jongi and Kamo are both, I have to feel for that. And Hong Kong Attitude, this has been a bit of a problem for them. Maybe they get the supports, maybe they get the DPSs, but the tanks, they just can't get the tanks, and that's always the roadblock for Hong Kong Attitude in terms of progress here. Tanks stop up the cart movement. Now we're at the 1 minute mark again. This is actually just looking like a previous result for Hong Kong Attitude where you do not get past streets.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's looking like that's the case right now at least. So they're going to change it up a little bit, go for an alternate push, but they do still need to get the kills and will eventually still need to play the cart. And they're still going to be doing that through a self-destruct.
Yeah,
Sorry, an EMP rather. And there it goes, the EMP out. Actually doesn't get the convert. Zonda has to drop down to a health pack. Bacon Jack and Jongi pick. This is what they need as the opener. They need to get a few more though as they do lose Mui, but they close out K-Momo. Finally, the momentum on their side, they are underway. And actually, Flash Wolves are a little bit split because of where Zonda finished that one up. He will be able to wrap around and regroup, but Hong Kong Attitude have a chance to push it over the line here.
And look at the economy here. As a Hong Kong Attitude about to get 6 ultimates up against only, what, 2 maybe at best from Flash Wolves. If Bacon Jack can manage to get the Pulse Bomb as well. Sinclair's going to need to do a lot to hold on to a lot of members here. And Hong Kong Attitude got to get a lot of value if they don't want to waste too much. I'm actually looking beyond the second cap because I'm expecting Hong Kong Attitude to cap right now.
Yeah, with big on Bacon Jack and now Sinclair as well, they should indeed be able to cap, and it's really just about staying safe and tidy through this one. Moving maybe going a little too far forward, but he's doing so to take out Jongi, who just dives right away with those supports there. Picks off K-Momo though, so all's well that ends well. Mango Jai will die for it, and Jongi is going to try and get one more. Actually does get another one for his trouble, but the cap has gone through anyway. Hong Kong Attitude will be able to get these members back in with the team here. No one's got a long walk.
Cleanup.
They're still getting kills as well. Yeah, this is really good for them.
Hong Kong Attitude, they break the curse at least for this hybrid or at least escort.
Yeah, the second point curse.
The second point curse. And that's funny because on Horizon there's only 2 points, so they managed to get that in as well. So, I don't know, whatever. Hong Kong Attitude, they're doing whatever they're doing. This is starting to look like a map that's winnable for Hong Kong Attitude. This composition's working great for them. Shylin back on the Tracer, getting rid of the Doomfist. You definitely don't want to be playing Doomfist into a Sombra, so good adaptations. And now suddenly Hong Kong Attitude flip the script. It's looking much better.
Yeah, it's looking better. It's not quite there yet, but they've got what they need to make it happen. EMP going to come in very deep, and he's looking to secure on Mango Jai. Oh, good pick by Mui. Just kind of read that it was coming, and they follow it up with Sinclair as well. Self-destruct finds nothing for K-Momo. He does get back into the mech, so he buys that sort of time, but this should be another fight win for Hong Kong Attitude. Flash Wolves will get more fights before this becomes a full cap, but this is now a very significant amount of distance for what was a very short amount of time left on the clock for Hong Kong Attitude.
And Zonda's had enough. He's gone back onto the Soldier, and you got to question, you know, maybe he should have done this a little bit sooner, a little bit too late maybe. 7 seconds left to go. Was that a stick?
Probably not quite. That was a close one is what it was. The Ting dives in, but he loses his life for it. That's a little bit suboptimal for them. Looking to get something with the Deadeye. Need to get something with the Deadeye. Sound Barrier's going to make it hard, and he finds nothing in the end. Not even much zoning to come out. They're just trying to get extra payload distance here if they can, and they are getting a ton for it. It is now all contested, and Bacon Jack finding Shylin. Randy goes down as well. Randy does get one with the mech. Actually gets K-Momo's mech as well, but there isn't really anyone left to play the payload itself. The respawns will start to come through from Flash.
He might die.
He may die, but it's looking like he'll get out just because he has the reinforcements, and Hong Kong Attitude lack the damage now, but 66.26 meters. They will be pleased enough with that, given how dire it looked a moment ago. Now, they have to defend it.
Given how poor Kings Row was, given how poor Gibraltar was, you'll definitely take that distance. You would definitely take the fact that you got past streets, and suddenly, you know, the win condition appears itself again for Hong Kong Attitude, which is you can hold the first cap here. If you don't hold the first cap, you can maybe hold streets here. It's definitely doable. We didn't think it was going to happen on Lunar Colony. It happened. Now it's possible that they do it on Hollywood as well. And if you're Flash Wolves, you got to be just a little bit concerned because you know you're not out of the water just yet. You know you're still in the deep end. And look, this could go either way. It's Hong Kong Attitude. They could totally blow you out. They could blow themselves out. You don't know what's going to happen.
That's one way to put it, but yeah, absolutely. Look, this is still very much up in the air. And the other thing, actually, that's a real possibility is, especially on a map like Hollywood, there is actually still the chance that, you know, good distance or bad distance or whatever, Hong Kong Attitude may just straight up hold the first point. That's a very, very real possibility on this map.
It's actually a lot more common. I think it's one of the more common camps where you see first holds. Hollywood for some reason, I think.
And Numbani, both of those seem to be good for first holding.
Yeah, Numbani is because the first cap actually has spawns that favor defense, which is interesting because no other map has that. Hollywood, I think it's actually because of the way how tight the first cap is and kind of how it's kind of designed. I think it reinforces defense better than it reinforces attackers. Almost, I think it's a lot safer for the defense to reinforce. I don't know. That's kind of my theory into it.
And there are also quite good places for the defense to sort of set up. There's a lot of paths the offense can take, but they're all they're all watchable, they're all defensible. There's no sort of, there's no like major flank. But I mean, in any case, yeah, look, there's a lot of...
Basically, it's possible.
There's a lot of reasons, and I mean, if you're very curious as to those reasons, I mean, there's a lot of great resources at your disposal, but what you need to know here and now is this is very much within striking distance for Hong Kong Attitude.
It gets a lot more possible when you remember that Bacon Jack's still on the Doomfist. And mind you, still a good Doomfist, but
oh,
the guy dies.
Yeah, a Ting going down at the top of this one, and Mui still got a long way to go before that EMP with a great pick already up out the gate for the Flash Wolves, and now Mui as well, so that means no EMP, and this is already looking sour for that first point, so it does not look like they're going to have a first point hold.
Absolutely not. Not if Bacon Jack's popping off, and no response so far. Usually, you know, the response is, look, Bacon Jack puts himself out of position, you get a kill onto him, you get a kill onto somebody else, Zonda goes down, but you haven't dealt with Bacon Jack, and that's only one half of the equation. You've got to get both these DPSs, suddenly Flash Wolves look a lot more beatable.
Yeah, also Hong Kong Attitude really kind of failed to retreat there, which was a little unfortunate. They actually started running the wrong way, and I think they were expecting someone to start getting trade kills so they could collapse, but ultimately they would have been better off retreating and actually may have been able to come in for a contest given how early a Ting died, but in any case, not going to be able to happen, and now they just have to hold out on streets.
This actually looks a lot more similar, and it reminds me of the opening match for Hong Kong Attitude against AHQ from Season 1, where it went to a Map 5, and Hollywood was where they lost this, so you don't want to repeat of that.
Ooh,
you now want to change history and make sure you win this.
That's the way to do it.
The Bacon Jack is definitely a way to start.
And Zonda getting forced back with this EMP running. Mui does go down for his trouble. Zonda will try and regress, but there we go. Good follow-up by the tanks of Hong Kong Attitude, even as it is Mango Jai who gets it with a headshot. And that man is good at that, but they are not going to let Flash Wolves run completely rampant. They're going to try and bleed this clock as much as possible.
Now, both Transcendences up for both Zenyatta's on either side of this Hong Kong Attitude. They need time because that first cap was way too quick for Flash Wolves. And Flash Wolves, you know, they got stopped up for one push.
Oh dear.
But now they're looking like they want to get a little bit of distance, specifically CQB going down. I don't know how keen Flash Wolves, or rather, I don't know how keen Hong Kong Attitude are going to try and stay in this.
Zonda actually gets pressured out, but yeah, that's really, really big for them. Hong Kong Attitude totally keeping this one controlled now, even though they lost CQB early. Popping K-Momo's mech as well. They actually just want to kind of leave him to take the long walk back into the mech, and he'll probably end up going back to base and resetting entirely.
That was a huge defense because they had to barely use anything there. What's going on for Randy? Did he use a self-destruct? I'm going to guess yes. I didn't quite catch that.
He did.
It's either that or he's out of his mech. I think he used it. In either case,
Zonda.
Very easy kind of push through. They didn't have to spend anything at all. Flash Wolves were kind of bewildered there a little bit. They weren't too sure what was going on. Losing Zonda here, you know, waiting for the respawn. Suddenly you're back in the spot where you see Hong Kong Attitude on their attack on streets. 1 minute remaining before they actually cap. Suddenly Flash Wolves, they have a lot more time than that, but 1 minute is not that far off either.
Yeah, they've got a lot of ultimates, which is a big boon for them, don't get me wrong, but they're fighting right into this EMP now, and Hong Kong Attitude bought themselves time to get their own up. Yeah, it indeed comes out. But they haven't actually got the follow-up just yet, and actually they force the Transcendence out of Mango Jai, match it with their own from Sinclair, and now they are the ones with more gas in the tank. Jongi going deep onto Mango Jai, and they do convert that one over, even as Sinclair goes down himself. Now Jongi looking to get more, really trying to trap CQB, does finally take him down. The payload is moving. That's what really counts at the end of the day. And Hong Kong Attitude not getting any trades in response now, as the mech is forced out of Randy, and indeed Randy himself goes down. 3 minutes still. Hong Kong Attitude can hold a last defense here at this final point, but that was a very good attack from Flash Wolves.
It definitely looks a lot harder now. Jongi just played out of his mind there as well, getting a triple kill at a very crucial time for Flash Wolves. If he hadn't picked up those 3 kills, you don't know where Flash Wolves was going to get their other kills. So for Hong Kong Attitude, they had a good defense. That's been stopped up now. This EMP needs to do more work than it has done before.
Yeah, and it doesn't catch Bacon Jack as well, so the sound barrier had to be committed. They do kill Jongi though, and pop K-Momo's mech. That could be all they need now. Zonda and Bacon Jack could totally go off, but smartly, they're going to retreat, conserve those ultimates. They know that they only need to win one fight, to push it over the line here.
And that's great because, you know, the fact that Flash Wolves don't lose any more members after K-Momo and Jongi, and actually K-Momo losing his own life and not getting staggered out, pretty important for Flash Wolves and getting this reset pushed up. And not charging Hong Kong Attitude's ultimates because you've still got a slight lead here. You want to keep that lead going and make sure you can win with it.
And that's Jongi getting a little bit forced up at high ground. Hong Kong Attitude, yeah, they are going to have a bit of a tough fight here, but they can absolutely do it. They've got the right sort of resources. Zonda Needs to be careful with how he positions, though. He's got a smart kind of position, but it could just blow up in his face as well. Good bubble onto the self-destruct. Mango J gets picked just shy of a Transcendence. That's a big opener. And they do pick off Singler as well, but they get the pressure on. A Ting goes down, but they're trading back. Look at all these members of Flash Wolves that are left exposed while Jongi and K-Momo dive. Pulse Bomb secures Jongi, and on a very low economy fight, Hong Kong Attitude, notably Shailin, are looking to just barely hold down this payload.
That is incredible. This is the Hong Kong attitude that you can't account for this because you're not too sure what this team's actually going to bring to the table. So like I kind of said, jokingly, they either blow you up or they blow themselves up. But right now, it's going to be the fact that Hong Kong attitude are blowing their Flash Wolves up and not the other way that Flash Wolves were expecting, even with Flash Wolves playing the Soldier Tracer. This is their trademark gameplay, and it's not winning so far.
Flash Wolves do have a lot of ultimates, but now all those ultimates Hong Kong Attitude were just shy of. They have up. First up is EMP. They're going to commit the Transcendence very early. Sinclair is well committing his. They need to get picks, otherwise Flash Wolves are going to start just out-tempoing them, frankly. K-Momo loses his mech without committing his self-destruct. That's unfortunate for him, and that sound barrier, it keeps him alive, but he's in full retreat. Randy loses his mech as well. Hello, Mui, are you okay?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Now he's okay. Doesn't quite connect the hack there onto Jongi, and now Zonda's starting to do the work that he needs to do, but they are stalling for time, and that may just be enough here. Bacon Jack is trying to go off, and he does get a Ting. They're getting a couple of trades back, but now it's just Mango J. The cap will go through, but they only have just under 2 minutes to get it all the way through here. This is still within striking distance, indeed, for both teams.
It is very similar to what we saw in Hong Kong Attitude Tech, man. This is going to be a picture-perfect finish. I don't know what's going to happen there exactly. Flash Wolves coming in with some momentum, but Hong Kong Attitude, one good fight win. That could be all they need to think. Hong Kong Attitude get one fight win. I think it's done for Flash Wolves. I think Flash Wolves got to push on through in one go here.
And Flash Wolves do have more resources to do so right now. The key thing is Sinkle will have his Transcenders before Mango J is anywhere close to his back, but Mui will have that EMP, and that is indeed the great equalizer. Bacon Jack, good stick onto Randy, but Randy, he doesn't quite retreat safe. Actually, he does, but while that happens, a Ting gets picked off, and that is rough. That's the Transcendence out from Sinkler. They want to march it to the end now. Shailin! He's stopping the payload. They've forgotten about that, but his team is dying while that's happening, and that is maybe just as bad. He's seriously buying so much time right now. This is nasty.
Yeah,
but what happens when he dies? Suddenly the team's white, and no one's here to defend it. That was maybe the wrong call there. That wasn't a guaranteed fight until he left his team in the lurch, and now someone's got to touch that payload. It's contested, but by who? Zonda's getting pressured, but he's also got the tactical visor. The payload's there, and they get it over the line. What a fitting finish for a tight series. And Hong Kong Attitude are this absolute wildfire team right now. You never know what to expect, but it is Flash Wolves who take out the win. They will not be taken out by Hong Kong Attitude today. They will have to try again in the second round robin.
That is such a tough win from Hong Kong, from Flash Wolves rather as well, because at no point there were you really convinced that Flash Wolves were really going to win. Like, it could have still just gone either way. Something big kind of couldn't possibly happen. One of the big plays they want to highlight is Bacon Jack actually forcing Randy out. Got a nice pulse bomb, got a nice clip on him as well. Didn't kill Randy, but what it did do is leave a Ting unintended. So Randy couldn't matrix a Ting. That means a Ting gets killed in a different location on the map. Suddenly their front line gets opened up anyway because Randy's low, and Ting's not even there. And it's just DPSs and supports. Hong Kong Attitude don't have enough to push through with. And you were sort of right about Shailin on the cart as well. Actually, he started contesting the cart before Flash Wolves were even trying to push it. And that's a bit of a problem to me because he wasn't contesting it at a more crucial moment when Flash Wolves were wanting to push it. So that means he wasn't actually contributing to the fight beforehand. And I don't know, it is a little bit of a worry. He died at a sort of crucial time, and when the rest of Hong Kong Attitude respawned, five of them came back
couldn't get to the card. And I'm going to come out and say that actually felt really silly. It felt like a really silly thing to do because it's like this thing you do for fun, like, haha, look at this.
It's genius and silly, right?
Yeah, and like it's genius if it does work, but that wasn't even the right time for it to be this genius play where they kind of disappear from the payload and forget about it, and the overtime disappears or what have you. They had already lost the member as well. He kind of left his team in a 4 versus 6, and it's no wonder the Flash Wolves were able to win. They still had a minute as well. Like, they had plenty of time to kill those 4 members, then come back, kill Shailin, push the cart. What would have been better, ultimately, is them committing to that 5 versus 6 a little bit, using the space they had, getting some counter trades because there was not as much numerical superiority for Flash Wolves, and leveraging the closeness of their respawn. That was the huge thing they had going for them there at the end, their Hong Kong attitude. And unfortunately, what Shylin did, regardless as to where the call came from, it ended up stopping them from leveraging that most crucial setup.
Let's take a look at now the replay, and this is going to be Hong Kong Attitude's attack, right, to start things off with, and not a super easy attack, I think, to go through with this. I don't know, it seems like a very long time ago now.
Yeah.
I'm even struggling to remember what exactly happened here, but yeah, okay, so it was Mui. It was basically taking down Bacon Jack. I'm pretty sure Zonda doesn't get an EMP here, not too much impact. So it did take a while. So the other big takeaway from this is the fact that Hong Kong Attitude, unlike what Flash Wolves did, and Flash Wolves just came in, capped the point, easy peasy, no real defense. For Hong Kong Attitude, not the case. They spent 2 minutes, unfortunately, not getting a lot done. They removed that very first minute of their attack. Nothing to show for it. They lost a couple members, and they said, well, we're going to go for a full reset. Suddenly, a quarter of your attack time is gone, and, you know, nothing has happened.
Yeah, and that fight that they did win was sort of a game of inches for them, and it wasn't like one person went off, just a couple of little picks and plays here and there.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be just a little bit further on.
So this is Hong Kong Attitude starting to get the momentum back on their side. They had started to get held up here, and we were worried that it was going to be a bit of a repeat of what we saw before. What ultimately happened is actually they timed the use of their defensive ultimates a bit better, and Bacon Jack didn't really get much out of his own ultimate. Suddenly you see them here. They don't have great resources to commit. The self-destruct kind of goes off yonder from K-Momo, and while that's all happening, the members with the highest playmaking potential, notably Bacon Jack, gets picked off there. Zonda goes in with the EMP, immediately had to retreat. Suddenly it's just kind of Jongi on his own. He did totally go off, but they used everything they had just to kind of get that win, actually maybe ceding some ground, and then going back in for the fight, having drawn out more ultimates, might have ultimately served them better.
And for Hong Kong Attitude, I think, for me at least, you really look at this matchup, and I just want to focus on Hollywood only for the purpose of this discussion. And the question is, could they have won Hollywood? I think absolutely they could have won Hollywood. What would have been the case for Hong Kong Attitude had they actually finished a map? Because then you would have had a situation where Shylin doesn't need to try and be that hero that tries to stall up the cart. You can just go back to spawn. You can maybe even die and consider, okay, the cart has to push all the way. We're definitely getting a full wave of respawns here. Now we're going to fully leverage that defensive advantage. Take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be the attack on through from Flash Wolves, and you'll notice so much cleaner, killing a team right off the top of the bat. And this is a team that really utilizes that player advantage. Unfortunately for Hong Kong Attitude, they're a team for me that doesn't do too much with these player advantages, and Gibraltar was the biggest example of that. You saw a little bit of that in Hollywood as well. You got an early kill onto Bacon Jack, if I'm not mistaken, and the action from Hong Kong Attitude just slow. But you look at the other side for Flash Wolves, immediately after getting a kill, they find the second kill. They just keep on going until they get everyone.
And I think one of the big things that happens with them is, unlike Flash Wolves, and also I would say more notably right now Blank, as we saw earlier tonight, Hong Kong Attitude aren't a team that can position such that if they have a player disadvantage, they can still have a fairly level fight. It's never going to be completely level. Like, that's just already gone. That's out of the picture. But what you can do is you can mitigate that. And right now, I would say Flash Wolves and Blank are doing it far, far better than anyone else. And Hong Kong Attitude are included in that anyone else bracket. We see that so often, both on attack and defense. I mean, there it was just Mui got picked, and they just fell completely to shambles because they hadn't really set up at all. And sometimes when it's on the attack, it's like, oh, Mango Jai gets headshot, right? Let's just back right off. They don't have the positional ability to get counter trades.
Let's take a look at another replay now into, I guess, the closing moments of the second camp. Who's pushed it? It is Flash Wolves. This is the one I think they get it through, despite Shylin picking up a decent number of kills here. They just don't have any pressure onto the card. Am I wrong? I'm not too sure. It was in that sort of last final 1 minute marker that I remember where Flash Wolves actually get it on through, and it's roughly about the same amount of time that Hong Kong Attitude had to work with when they got the cap on through.
Yeah, what ends up happening there, like Shylin did actually buy them a good bit of time, and it was kind of the hero of that moment of defense there. And then Flash Wolves were just kind of able to respawn. They had more ultimates, they had more numbers. I mean, it's not surprising that they capped immediately after that. Shylin did run down the clock a little bit extra, but the thing I find is unfortunate, and you kind of pointed this out, they didn't take advantage of the fact that they'd run down that clock. Maybe they should have taken an earlier fight after that second point was capped.
Get a bit more aggressive.
And use that time, stalled for even more, knowing that they would get a final fight as well before the cart could get fully capped. but they kind of didn't, and it's kind of in a similar strategic vein, in my opinion, to not positioning ideally. You know, it's not leveraging the situation you're in, it's playing for the situation you'd like to be in.
All right, so player of the game, MVP from the Flash Wolves going over to Sinclair. I might have been, who would I don't know. I guess Sinclair kind of deserves it. When he had a couple of good shots in there from
I feel
Gibraltar,
like
I almost want to give it to Bacon
I
Jack
would
a
have said
little
Jongi.
bit. I think
Yeah.
you might be right, because Jongi had more hero moments where he kind of brought the game back for Flash Wolves in a really difficult position. But I think, you know, Bacon Jack at the end of the day, he did his thing. It's probably also, this is the thing, it's the Bacon Jack Jongi coin flip. It's who's it going to be out of those two, and it's just always one of those.
Sinclair?
That's when you land in the middle.
Yeah.
Let's actually recap today's results so far from what we had. So we started things off with Machi Esports versus Blank. Now that was a 3-1 victory for Blank. Then we went on to Mega Thunder versus Blank as well, 3-0. Then we just finished up a long best of 5 series, 3-2 for Flash Wolves, and now the updated standings after that as well. Let's take a look at that, Ardia. 3-0 from week 1. Blank now on that leaderboard, 2-0. Flash Wolves 2-0. AHU sitting at 2-1. So that's your top 4 kind of expected. Machi at 1-2. Hong Kong Attitude 1-3. Mega 1-3. Liberant Supreme 0-3. And honestly, this 1-8 is not too inaccurate based on what we've seen so far. I think that's pretty accurate based on the actual power levels.
It does. It seems totally fair. The interesting thing about this, by the way, is had Hong Kong Attitude won that and been 2-2, we would have actually seen them sitting in 5th place. There would have been a 6-7, and Flash Wolves, I'm just trying to like quickly math it out in my head, I believe would have actually been in the 4th place spot themselves. And actually, ultimately, it would have been a little bit closer. The thing that kind of comes into question here is Hong Kong Attitude's ability to make top 4. Look, there's still a 2nd round robin where they could beat Flash Wolves, but today, it wasn't the case.
Let's take a look at the post-match interview now, and I'll translate this one over. It's with Bacon Jack. So you're going to play Blank and Flash Wolves next week? And we're going to be finishing the round robin as well. What are you guys going to change for next week? So we're going to look at this match we just finished first, and really look at what happened here. I feel like our communication had some issues this match. All right, don't think too much about it, which already happened. Nibal, did you have some questions? So, how about Doomfist? Whose Doomfist is better right now? I think we both learned it together.
没有到手牵手啦，但就是同步进行。
OK。那就刚刚提到的失误面来说，就是你们在第一章打漓江天塔的时
You
候
play Lijiang Tower.
第一张图拿到胜利后，后面是7-6加拳王的一个套路，但很明显就是你们都在斩口区被限制住了。那你们有尝试做换角
So you did 76 Doomfist and didn't really work out. Did you think about changing?
考虑先打啦，但就加上沟通上失误。
I feel like our communication still was our biggest problem there.
就2张图而言，就是漓江天塔还有月游基地是你们输的。那
So you lost Horizon and Lijiang.
就是你们有没有尝试换成你们比较习惯的套路？就像你们好像会出什么小美加死神啊，或者是死神加拳王。
那时候是有这个措施，可是因为那时候我们在纠结于那个偷绕过来的那个76，因为他们是在右上角偷打我们。
So we felt quite pressured by 76. You know.
争吵就是纠结于到底谁要去盯，但也不知道。
I think the question was actually you guys have some interesting strategies for Horizon that they didn't bring out.
就变成是要后面2周要解决的问题，对不对？
对。
好，那就是因为你们现在团队上的调度就是派你一边去玩拳王，那为什么会有这样的想法
So why are you the one playing Doomfist?
现在韩国 Apex 主流就是牛仔加拳王。
So a lot of the Apex teams are actually running McCree
团
Doomfist.
练状况还不错啊。
We actually do pretty well in scrims.
沟通上
遇到蛮多的波折，
真是太夸张了。
是。
But today's communication was bad.
3-2，哎，对
3-2.
还有蛮多时间可以做调整的。
I feel like you still have time to make changes.
闪光跟拳王这2个角色，
What about Tracer
角
and
色性质不
Doomfist?
太一样，就是他们在进场时间点上不好去琢磨。那你是怎么抓这个诀窍？
主要是如果去观察一些队伍的话，有些队伍很喜欢乱脚招， 然后闪光因为机动性高，所以你可以去惩罚那些乱脚招人。对。
那你会觉得
Sorry, I didn't quite catch
少
that.
了闪光这个角色的时候，有点难去打出破
Do you feel like losing the
对
tracer on your side is
就像
difficult?
一样，要等队友动，你才能去做。
I feel like me playing Doomfist feels more reactive. I have to wait for the other team to do something first.
了解了解。
好的，那感谢呢大家的收看，明天同一个时间呢，请继续的
So there it is, Bacon Jack, the post-match interview. They won, but a hard-fought victory.
Yeah.
And understandably, they're not super impressed with how they did there. Before we sort of move on anyway, I do want to just quickly update you guys on what we have to look forward to tomorrow. So let's take a look at that very quickly. Machi Esports going to take on Team Ardent to start things off with. Blank Esports and then taking on Hong Kong Attitude. Liberland Supreme against Flash Wolves. So for Flash Wolves, a little bit of an easier day for tomorrow. But Liberland Supreme, look, possibly an 0-4. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank. I don't know, wild bag, could go anywhere. Like, if today was anything to go by, I got no idea how that's going to go. Machi and Ardent looking to potentially continue their undefeated streak. They haven't dropped a single map yet, and they don't look like they want to drop a map this week either. But
yeah, certainly looking that way.
Any final thoughts about the matches we saw today before we maybe, touch on some of the things to look forward to?
I mean, it goes without saying we answered a lot of questions tonight about Blank, especially with their new roster. That was good to see. But I think ultimately the takeaway from the night is the same thing we've kind of been saying since day one, and that is overall the competition is a lot tighter this season. There is much less skill gap between all of these teams from top to bottom, and yes, that includes the currently 0-3 Liberland Supreme, who may be 0-4 by the end of tomorrow, who knows. But at the end of it all, someone's got to be in that bottom two, and only half of that pool is going to make that top four. And it is the teams like Hong Kong Attitude who failed to pick up the win tonight, and Machi Esports and Mega Thunder that are currently looking like they may just fall short of the mark.
Absolutely, it's definitely not over for them either because AHQ, we still got to see what they're going to be doing for the rest of this week. And any of these teams could still steal a spot of AHQ, who are currently sitting at number 4. And the top 4 does look to be what we expected, the top 3 from last season plus Ardent. That's not out of the realm of expectations at all for what we're going into season 2 from. But where exactly does each team land within that top 4 positioning?
Yeah.
Still yet to find out, and we're not going to.
Truthfully, we may not know until we reach playoffs.
Yeah, you're definitely not. I think towards the end of the first round robin is when you're really going to get a bit of a feel for that, and certainly week 3 is going to be quite exciting because that's when Flash Wolves and Blank and stuff like that do get to play each other. But we've reached the end of the night now, so for day 1 of week 2. It's all over from us, but we'll catch you guys tomorrow for more Overwatch OPC action in Season 2. We'll see you then.